All right, so 2 years in the making, we're finally here. We don't have a name for it yet. I was thinking like House Divided podcast or something like that. I don't know, something.
Like,
We're on a working title. Go Birds is a great podcast name, I think. Bleeding Green, also I love.
I think it's
But yeah, so here we go. Why don't you introduce yourself and tell everybody who you are?
Ron. So my name's Chris Arcos. Met Dan back in Japan. We were both in the Navy together. Basically, as you can see, he's an Eagles fan. I'm a Giants fan. He's been doing better throughout the years than us. But yeah, that's how our love for talking shit to each other started. And here we are.
And I'm Dan Allen. I was in the Navy with him in Japan. It's been like 8 years since the last time I saw this dude. But we've been talking shit on Facebook ever since. So I figured, you know what? We've been talking about it for 2 years. Like, fuck it, let's talk about it. And I also think that it'd be more fun to talk about it in person because you can kind of really like flesh out your points and stuff like that. And we can also get real loud because we're fucking rivals. But at the end of the day, NFC beast over everybody else. That's how I feel about it. All right, so let's start off with it. And this one is probably going to be the one that we're going to talk about for a while because you're going to disagree with me, and I'm not going to let you because I'm stubborn. Cowboys Eagles. Everyone, the whole nation was like, yay, football. And then they were like, oh, shit, it's Cowboys Eagles. Fuck, I don't think I actually care anymore. Like, the two most hated fan bases in the NFL right now.
But you know what? I can admit that you guys have a great team. I've told you that personally. I mean, as much as I hate to admit it, I'm not a Jalen Hurts fan. We're going to get into that. I know you don't agree with me. I don't think he's a top 5 quarterback. That's me personally. But I think you guys have a great line. You guys have a great D-line. Jalen Carter's an idiot for that. I know we talked about that also. I think that could have possibly cost you guys the game down the road just because it changed the whole run game for the Cowboys. But, yeah, you guys got the number 1, 2 receiver. Even Jahan Dotson, dude, a third, like a wide receiver 3. That's insane. And then, obviously, you guys got Barkley. And, yeah.
So where I want to start with this one is not in the Jalen Hurts debate, believe it or not. I actually, so I want to clear the air about some things right now. When I'm on Facebook, I love pissing people off. And being an Eagles fan makes it so fucking easy. So the reality of it is what Jalen Carter did was fucking dumb. He's an idiot. As a person, not great. But I'm a Kanye fan, so I can separate the art from the artist a little bit. I'm going to say that if he's on that field, that game is not even really a game. He makes that much of a difference. Because when you scheme defensively for a guy like Jalen Carter, you have to have 2 offensive linemen aware of where he is at all times, and you're going to have to really start to get creative with your coverages. And the problem is that with him not in the game, look at Javonte Williams. People are like, wait, is he really that good? No, they ran right in the A gap where Jalen Carter was going to be the whole game.
That's what I was saying, man. Like, stuff that gap, there was nobody, at least to Jalen Carter's, like you were saying, to his, I guess, his level, man. They were just able to, even with some QB sneaks. I think Dak had a few, I truly think that changed the game, and it wouldn't have been as close as it was possibly. I think that would have changed the trajectory, but we'll never know, man. Not even what happened,
Yeah, so, and not only to get into what ifs, which is a big part of, a lot of debates around a lot of players, not just Jalen Hurts, like players like Justin Herbert, right? There's a lot of what ifs around those kind of guys. I don't like what ifs. I like what actually happened, so let's talk about it. I think for the Cowboys, this is a game they should have won. And I think that this proves, and I know it's going to be crazy, you did not expect me to say that. I think that this proves that by week 3 of the preseason, starters need to be getting a couple reps because because the thing that happened is that you have a guy like CeeDee Lamb who is a sure-handed receiver. He is kind of a T.O. archetype where he kind of drops the ball a little bit, right? But those balls are not balls that he drops. He actually makes those catches in traffic very well, which is the reason that he's able to grind out seasons where he has big yardages because he gets a lot of balls in traffic. So I think that this was a slow start because of those guys not being used to getting some live reps. And back in the day, teams came out of the chute hot. When we were growing up watching football, teams came out hot because they started. The Patriots, teams like the Patriots, teams like the Colts that always had good seasons, teams like the Chargers, their first team got reps. I think that at least the first quarter, you need guys in there getting some live reps, getting some contact, starting to catch the balls in traffic, get the mistakes out of the way the 3rd and 4th week of preseason. Because what happens is that you get these guys that come out, and then you have rough games like that were tough to watch. And I have to be honest, the
feel like
Cowboys should have won that game.
I think that's throughout the league, and this is a different situation. I was at the Giants and Redskins game. Sorry, they're the Commanders now, no longer the Redskins. I was at that game, and you know what? A big thing. I know it's different, but with the holdout of Terry McLaurin, there was a few balls where him and Jaden Daniels had a good connection. Last season. Obviously, Terry's been there for years. He was always productive, 1,000-yard seasons, but he never had an actual quarterback to this caliber right now. I think that's fair to say.
Yeah.
But yeah, Aiden overthrew some balls. Terry also. I don't think he played any preseason games. I think he practiced maybe 1 week before that game. But I think that's fair to say with these holdouts. And yeah, and I do see though players. I think it's stupid when there's starters. You could say it's a meaningless game in the preseason and they get hurt, like a season-ending injury in a preseason game. And it's like, really? You know what I mean? So it's like a catch-22. I think it's necessary, but I also understand why some of these guys don't do it. You know what I mean?
I get that. But I feel like growing up, like when we were watching football, because I've been watching football since I was 4 years old. I know you've been watching football your whole life. Like we watch, like in the North, we watch the NFL. Like
we were decent at one point.
100%. And that's the thing though, man, is like we both have had seasons. Now, I've been very lucky. The Eagles have been good pretty much my entire life. I actually got lucky. There's been very few seasons where the Eagles weren't in the playoffs, like in my life. Like I got very lucky with that, and I hope that continues. But it makes sense because the organization is run well, right? But even though the organization is run well, the things that I like is that for the Eagles, we don't have holdouts. We get a guy like Saquon, he has a good season, there's your money. Right? Because that's what winning teams do. The Chiefs do it. The Patriots did it. The Colts did it. The good teams say, hey, we got a player. We pay him. So that obviously is segueing into something I'm really hinting at here. Micah Parsons. Cowboys fans. Go ahead.
I like that you bring that up, man, because I think that also was another reason why Jalen Hurts was able to just devour that outside, those 2 rushing touchdowns. I think they were missing Micah Parsons, and there's one guy that we actually picked up, Chauncey Golston, who was Micah Parsons' backup. So they lost 2 big guys this offseason that were like leaders on their defensive front in terms of Dallas. So I think the Jalen Carter issue, the Micah Parsons issue, and obviously the starters not playing, maybe not being at 100% in connection with the quarterback and getting the reps and whatnot live with pads on, because obviously, training camp, whatnot. It's totally different running with pads on and doing all that. But I think those are 2 big factors that changed that game. Would it have been different? You think the Cowboys should have won or could have won? I
think that the Eagles would have had to work for it harder rather than having like a signature Eagles win where they just kind of run. They know they say, hey, we're just going to run the clock. We're going to threaten the run, and we're going to roll out Saquon for a little 6 yards here, get Jalen to get another first down. We're going to grind out 9 minutes of clock on a nothing drive, take our 3 points because we know our defense got it. But we'll get into the weather delay soon because I think that actually had a huge impact on the result of this game. But
there's so much to talk about that game though, because me personally, I thought the Eagles secondary didn't look too good either, and I don't know if that's because you guys, I know Darius Slay, obviously, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, those 2 guys, you guys lost them. But those are pretty good veteran players. A lot of people were talking about a whole different team. But Jalen Ramsey, how they were saying, oh, he's old, he's washed up. But, hey, man, he impacted that Jets game in the end pretty big. Those are 2 guys that still are professional players. They are freaking rock stars. You guys have Corey Jackson from us, and he was getting cooked up, man. I think Slay and C.J. Johnson definitely were 2 big impacts on that team that also allowed for that game to be that close.
So the way that I feel about this, and like with the preseason thing too, it changes how I evaluate NFL teams. I take 4 weeks now. I used to say I'm going to take 2 weeks when they went back when I was younger in the preseason. I'm going to take 2 weeks. Now I give 4 weeks. Now I give 4 weeks before I fully evaluate because you have to get the film, your identity. You don't have guys playing live reps. So it's really like a wild card on the first 4 weeks. So the thing
Week 4 of the regular season?
Week 4 of the regular season is when I have a full opinion on like what I'm going to start saying, this is a playoff team. This is a contender. But for right now on the week 1 evaluation, what I will say with the secondary is I am actually not as down on our secondary as a lot of people are. And the reason for this is, number one, not having Jalen Carter does mean that there's not going to be a lot of pressure up front. And that's the problem. When you have a team that's not getting pressure up front, the secondary is not going to succeed. Even the Legion of Boom. The reason that they're able to cover so well is because they were also really good at disguising blitzes and getting pressure. And so when you're in the NFL and you have 6 seconds to throw the ball and you're against an NFL wide receiver, if you give CeeDee Lamb 6 seconds against any corner in the history of the game, he's going to probably get some catches. That's just how it's going to go. They had so much time sitting in the pocket, being able to throw the ball. And I have to say that CJ Gardner-Johnson was a bigger loss. That's one I really don't like, but Slay, okay, Isaiah Rodgers, for what he was asking, for how he came up last year, I think was a big player, and he looked really good for Minnesota. And I think guys like that are going to make a difference. However, Quinyon Mitchell needed to be on CeeDee Lamb. Adoree Jackson should not be on CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah, you guys have such a young team too, man. Mm-hmm. As much as I hate to admit it, the Eagles just have such everywhere, man. They get freaking. Correct me if I'm wrong. I really don't follow too much of the Eagles. Mm-hmm. I fucking despise them. But Reed Blankenship and who's the other guy? The other white guy.
Cooper DeJean.
Cooper DeJean, dude. Those two guys, they were late round picks, right? Rookies.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, Cooper DeJean, and Reed Blankenship were both second round picks. Yeah.
Yeah, those are just and you guys just don't miss in a draft, man. It's it's insane. You guys, everybody you get is a contributor. Either they start or they're a freaking secondary, and it's that next man up type thing, And it's you guys. I will give you guys the credit that you guys definitely. You guys got everything going over there. Howie, and oh my. He's got Tank Bigsby from freaking Jacksonville. I don't even know how that's
nothing. And the thing is with him is that I feel like I was kind of worried. At first I'm like, we already have like Will Shipley had a good game, right? But he's kind of playing. He's already hurt. He's got a significant leg injury. And then you have AJ Dillon, which I think behind our offensive line, I think AJ Dillon's going to be really good as a third down back, kind of wearing down defensive linemen, opening gaps for Saquon and allowing Jalen Hurts an opportunity. Because look, he's big in pass pro. That guy's like a fucking tight end. I mean, he's huge, right? So I think that those depth signings, like those Tank Bigsby things, I want to see what they're going to do with him first, and I'm going to temper my expectations on that because I don't really know kind of what there's a reason that they signed him. Obviously, they're going to use him, but what is that reason?
Fifth round pick is just insane because you guys, like you said, AJ. He was in Green Bay, correct? He was contributing in Green Bay.
He had like 300 yards, yeah.
Yeah, he's and that's just Barkley obviously is a workhorse. We could see he got record-breaking 2,000-yard season, and obviously, as much as I hate that he left the Giants, I also I can respect that would not have happened with the Giants O-line. It's the truth. He just would never have excelled to the way that he did. And that's only compliment to that Eagles offensive line, again, freaking Jason Kelce was the center. He was probably one of the best centers I would say. And then he goes, and who is it? Cam Jurgensen now? What's his backup?
Cam Jurgens, yep.
Cam Jurgens, backup. And guess what? This rookie season, you guys win the Super Bowl, or not rookie season, but his first year as a starter. Yeah. You guys win the Super Bowl, and that's just one guy that. Important position, and guess what? He stepped up, he got it, and then you still got Mailata, you got Lane Johnson, you got all these guys that are just. You guys got it going. You
can't replace Jason Kelce, but you can. That's about as good a job as you can do, I think. The reality of it is also I want to give a huge shout out. Jahad Campbell is doing things that I have never seen somebody do. He is covering receivers 30 yards down the field. As a guy who can play outside linebacker, he can play edge, he can drop back in coverage. He's got an insane skill set for the type of player that he is. And I think that he's going to be a guy down the line who's going to be a huge difference maker for this team because he can do anything, which is insane to me.
Yep. And I like I just said, I'm a big fan of Zach Bond. I think you have to respect that guy too. He came in. Again, he contributed, and like you were saying before, he got a contract. They saw it. They gave him the contract after the Super Bowl win, and guess what? It looks like he's one of the better. What is he? A Mike linebacker? He can do it too, man. He can rush. He can cover. He's. You guys got it going, man.
Yeah, and I have to say also, I want to talk about this Parsons thing. Look, here's the thing with it all, is that Cowboys fans are kind of coping right now. And look, there's no secret about it. I am a fan of two teams, the Eagles and whoever playing the Cowboys that week. That's just how I've always been. And that's just the way that it is, right? And that's the way it's always going to be. I've always hated the Cowboys. I always will hate the Cowboys. But that guy should be in blue. The reality is that they're trying to cope and say that he's not a good, he's not good in the run game. Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing I want to say. I kind of like the Reggie White comps. Not that anybody in the history of the game is Reggie White. Not that anyone in the future of the game will ever be Reggie White. No one will ever be Lawrence Taylor, right? That's just never going to happen. Lawrence Taylor, in my opinion, is the greatest football player that ever played football. He just is.
Hey, when the guy's drinking cocaine smoothies for pre-workout, this is a different breed,
You know what I mean? Let's go out there like some dogs and all that shit. Like, he was like, I'm going to kick your fucking ass. Like, I love him, right? But the thing is that you don't have Micah Parsons just like you don't have Reggie White in the run. That's why you get a Jerome Brown, right? The reality is Micah Parsons is not there to stop the run. You don't have a star edge like that to stop the run. You have a guy like that to make sure the quarterback is miserable all day long. Yep. And the reality of the situation is that Jalen Hurts had all the time in the world.
Yep.
And I want to say that there isn't a number 11 size gap in that defense. And it was very evident because even though our offensive line did a good job, and Kenny Clark did as good a job stopping the run as he could. I mean, he actually looked very good. He's going to have a good year. Like, he's not a bad player. I don't think that. No. But the problem with the Micah Parsons trade that I have is if you know you're going to get rid of him, instead of doing the whole song and dance, get rid of him when you can use the draft picks now. Because as it stands, the Cowboys, until next April, have traded Micah Parsons this season for Kenny Clark. That's not a good trade. It's just not. And it's the timing of it isn't good. The fact that the organization is starting to show some unrest. And look, Dallas was always, the one thing that Dallas always had going for them was that they were a big free agent destination and they were a place that people wanted to be traded. Well, now that people are starting to see, hey, no matter how good you are, if you're CeeDee Lamb who's had a 1,900-yard receiving season, you're still going to have to fight to get paid. They're going to start losing opportunities to get big names down the line. And look, people are saying, in 4 years, Micah Parsons will be back. Look, Micah Parsons came out week 1 in a defense he's had about 5 days to prepare with and made an impact. That guy is a guy that you just say, what's your price? And you sign him and you pay him. And the Cowboys are going to be in for a rough next 4 or 5 years. And also, I think this game made it very evident to me that, and I know you might not agree, Dak Prescott, he's just not the guy. I mean, look, people will say he played a good game.
That's me personally. I know I got a lot of buddies that are Cowboys fans, and they're like, all glory to him. During the regular season, great. But the guy's got like 2 playoff wins, and I don't know how many years is he at 10 years almost?
9.
So almost, in a decade, you got 2 playoff wins. Like, what are we doing? You know what I mean? Like, if you're gonna pay that guy that $50 million, but that's a whole other conversation with the whole cap and all these quarterbacks. Because we also paid Daniel Jones $40 million a year. Mm-hmm. I didn't think we should do that. Would that have possibly kept Barkley? Maybe not have kept him. Who knows? You know what I mean? Because we did offer Barkley before Daniel Jones that playoff run season, but that's a whole other conversation we get into. I don't know,
man. I'll just say that I think the Barkley move was actually smart, and not just because he went to the Eagles. The reality is that Saquon Barkley is not going to make enough of a difference with the team that you have right now. He's not going to produce to that level, and I think that signing that contract disallows you the ability to sign other guys that you really need in free agency to build that offensive line that you want, to build that defense that you want. He's not gonna make a difference in the way that people said. And honestly, getting rid of him was a smart choice. I know it doesn't seem like it, but you guys were not a Super Bowl team if you had Saquon Barkley this year.
It was going off to what you were saying before. If we knew we were gonna franchise tag him, and we possibly, we don't know the negotiations. We see the videos and the freaking, what is that, Hard Knocks, whatever. But if we knew we weren't going to keep him or we weren't going to pay him what he thought he wanted to get paid, get some draft picks for him. Get something for him. Because at the end of the day, it's like you were saying, guy walk. You know what I mean? And that's going back to Jerry Jones with the whole Micah thing. I did watch that documentary on Netflix. I don't know if you watched it.
Not yet.
With the whole Herschel Walker deal. That was the same thing. I see that very similar. Your star player, you get, he's gone and you get a bunch of, they get 2 first-round picks?
Yeah, they got a shit ton of stuff, yeah.
You know what? And at the end of the day, that's just going to build your future. You know what I mean? It's like you said, probably going to not take an effect till the next 2-3 years. But hey, you got something for him. Mm-hmm. You got good stuff for him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's the one thing that angers me. We should have got something for Barkley. But that was the 2 years where just the running back, they didn't want to pay anybody. Aaron Jones had left. I think Derrick Henry had left. So a lot of Josh Jacobs had left. Nobody wanted to play these running backs. Mm-hmm. And then guess what? I think they all went off and they all got contracts the next year. You know what I mean?
And last year was a running back year. Those running backs made differences. Every single one of those running backs had a great year. They were all guys that could have been all pro. Josh Jacobs, Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley, every single one of those guys, and the thing that I like is like the tight ends kind of had their community. The running backs came together and said, the reason you guys don't get paid is because you signed the contracts. Stop signing those contracts. And they did, and now they're starting to get paid because that is a premium position. Because here's the thing, running backs aren't just between the tackles anymore. They're also receivers, right? They also line up wide out. They also do pass pro. Those guys grind just as hard as anybody else, and I'm glad that they're getting paid. But let's talk about the quarterbacks. We've been pushing it. I was pushing it off, and I want to talk about this at the end. So here's the thing. I hear Dak Prescott, despite his team had a great game, dude, he passed for 188 yards. He had all day to throw. And here's the thing. That guy has been surrounded with talent his whole career. He's never had below a top 15 offensive line. He's always had a good receiving core. He's always had good offensive coordinators and good coaches that were offensive-minded coaches. And the guy doesn't get it done. This dude should have had 270-plus passing yards with 3 touchdowns and had 188 yards with no touchdowns. You can blame CeeDee Lamb all you want. The reality is it should not have even come down to that. That team got down the field so many times and did not score. They were in the red zone often, and they had the fumble with Miles Sanders. He's a sleeper agent. We had to pay him off a little bit, whatever. But the reality of that is you're extending a guy and paying a guy, and everyone's saying that, and everyone in Dallas is convinced he's not a bad player. That guy has had so much talent around him and has produced nothing. He should have had such a better game and didn't. I think the weather delay absolutely stopped all the momentum for both offenses. However, it was you can't use that excuse for Dak because it was a bigger momentum stopper for the Eagles, who just got a huge fumble recovery in the red zone. So there's no excuse for me. And that's the reason why I feel the way I do about Jalen Hurts, which we'll get into in a second. But I just think that Dak Prescott, this is his year, make it or break it. Like, to me, now is that Dallas is going to keep him until he decides he's done. This is look, 3 years ago was the year make it or break it to decide. 3 years ago. Yeah. And they signed, and you know what they did? They extended him.
Yeah. I don't think a lot of people think I think even Dallas fans, I know a lot of Dallas fans that don't think he should have got that contract.
Yep.
Because like you're saying, you got CD, awesome. Dude, you also have Jake Ferguson, who is a good tight end. You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to say he's not. And then you add George Pickens, which, for what it's worth, that's a quality receiver too. He didn't really get too many targets. He didn't have a terrible game. You know what I mean? But like you're saying, you got to get the ball there. The running back situation last year, I don't know what the hell they were doing, bringing back Zeke, and then they had Deuce Vaughn and all this stuff. And this year, Javonte Williams had a good year, but they don't even got Rico Dowdle. That was last year. I don't even know.
They got rid of Rico Dowdle. Now they have Javonte Williams, and their backup running back is Miles Sanders. Look, this team's not gonna do anything this year. Like I said I'd take 4 weeks. The thing is that this team might actually grind out 7 or 8 wins, maybe. But the problem is that they can't because they're in the NFC East. They're against the Eagles twice. They're against the Commanders twice. They always play the Giants. Always play them tough. And look, they're gonna be getting a decent draft pick this year, so they're gonna have. But that's the thing is that their actual draft pick is going to be higher than the compensatory pick that they get for Micah Parsons because the Packers are a good team. So that's another problem with that trade is now they're getting a pick 20 or behind, which is not an impact pick unless for some reason you're the Eagles, the Ravens, or the Chiefs, which these 3 teams always seem to get a good guy no matter where they are in the first round. The Cowboys are not that team. They need a top 10 pick where they're not going to get a guy who makes a huge impact unless it's a lineman, which is important, but you need somebody behind that lineman who's going to make a decision and when it's time to go out and win the game. So speaking of making decisions to go out and win games, let's talk about Jalen Hurts and why I think that he is at the very lowest, the top 3 quarterback in the NFL. I'm going to flesh out this point because I want to really talk about this fully. Here's the thing. All I hear about the guy is, well, what if he had these stats? And what if he did this? And what if he did that? Well, there's no what if for me. The guy has been to 2 Super Bowls in 3 years, has won one of them by his age 27 season. Only him, Tom Brady, and Patrick Mahomes have ever accomplished that. The thing is that he has all this talent around him. Are you going to really argue that the Ravens aren't as good of a team as the Eagles? You can say wide receiver wise, okay, but Zay Flowers is a good receiver. Rashad Bateman's not a bad wide receiver too. He has 2 competent tight ends and Derrick Henry behind him. And their defense is a top 10 defense every year. I'm not going to make that argument. And the problem with guys like Lamar Jackson and the problem with guys like Dak Prescott is when you need it the most, they make the mistake. Lamar Jackson, every single playoff run, you can say Mark Andrews drops the ball. Yes. But in the first quarter, when they're driving down the field and it's 7-7 and Lamar Jackson fumbles a ball that ends up as a Bills touchdown. The previous year, he threw 2 interceptions. One of them led to a touchdown. Another led to a field goal. He's giving points away. Jalen Hurts will throw interceptions sometimes. He will fumble the ball sometimes. But when you got to have it, he executes. When you got to have that first down. And this game showed me that I think Jalen is now entering his prime. Look, here's the reality.
Hate that tush push shit, man.
Here's the reality of it, though. They didn't use a tush push till the fourth quarter. And then when you look at this game, Dallas's secondary did as good a job as I have seen since we had A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. I watched the film. I watched the actual, the different angles of the film. They were covered the entire game. He still threw for 160 yards, ran for another 50, right? Was responsible for 2 of the 3 touchdowns, and he did what he had to do to win the game. When his receivers were covered, he's a dynamic player. And the thing is that people want to bring up like Justin Herbert. Right? They want to bring up in Justin Herbert's first 4 years, he has the same stats as Peyton Manning. Do you remember Peyton Manning's first season where he went 1-15 and set the record for interceptions by a rookie? These stats are so cherry-picked. The reality is you have a quarterback who utilizes his talents around him to the absolute perfect degree. The reason he doesn't throw the ball 50 times a game is because he doesn't have to. The reason he doesn't throw for 4,000 yards a season is because he doesn't have to. If he could easily have 4,000 plus passing yards and another 800 rushing yards, he could easily throw for 30 touchdowns every single year. But he doesn't have to. He doesn't have to do that.
You think that, would you like to see more of that? So that's my only issue. Personally, I don't think Jalen Hurts is horrible. I think he's arguably maybe in between 5 or 7. It depends. Are we going to look, because a lot of people that say Joe Burrow. I think Joe Burrow probably is one of the best quarterbacks. I think he's number 1. Me personally, I think Joe Burrow, with everything he can do, he is just. Last year was amazing. His defense, horrible. And this year we might have that same issue. The guy can get there, but they paid their offense all the money, and they're not paying any to their defense. Trey Hendrickson. I don't even know if he has a contract, right? That was one of the leading sacks.
He has a 1-year contract.
One of the leading sack leaders, and you're not paying that guy. And then they were having to hold out with that one rookie. I don't remember his name. I think he's from Cincinnati. I want to say, where is he from? You know what I'm talking about? Smith, their rookie. He was holding out, but that was like a big thing that he was thinking about going back to college because the Bengals didn't want to pay him because of contract disputes. So you got to get him the help. All right, so I think there's Burrow. Obviously, there's Mahomes. Yeah, Herbert, Lamar, Josh Allen. I think is also a great quarterback. I think those are all great quarterbacks. But then I look at Jared Goff also. I look at Matt Stafford. I think those guys are arguably in that conversation with Jalen Hurts. Maybe you're right. Jalen doesn't have to throw the ball. He can run it, and he has these weapons around him to where they can uplift him and make his job easier. Let's say that. You know what I mean? To where he doesn't have to make decisions of let me launch.
This is the argument that I hate. People have this quarterback struggle fetish. Well, what if he was on the Browns with the worst offensive line and 2 receivers who can't pass the 500-yard mark, who are going to drop the ball 30% of the time? But nobody has ever won anything in football with that. People would even point to guys like, look at Trent Dilfer, right? He's not a Trent Dilfer comparison, dude. He's not. And Trent Dilfer still had Jamal Lewis behind him. He had one of the all-time greatest defenses, right? People forget that Jalen Hurts' first starting season, he was on a team that was projected to get 4 to 6 wins. He had J.J. Arcega-Whiteside and Jalen Reagor. J.J. Arcega-Whiteside was out of the league in 2 years, and Jalen Reagor got cut as a punt returner from the Vikings the following season as his starting wide receivers. He had Dallas Goedert, who was a second year, who just replaced Zach Ertz that they got in a trade, had Miles Sanders as his running back, and he had a defense that had 2 players that were slightly above average on his defense. They went 9-8 and went to the playoffs. He threw for over 3,000 yards and had over 30 total touchdowns. The guy wins. That was his second. That was not his rookie year. That was his first year as a starter after they traded Wentz to the Colts. That literally was a season that the team was trying to tank, get rid of their franchise quarterback. He makes them 9-8, plays the best season statistically of his career, and actually exceeded Wentz's best season, although he was injured and would have had a better season. I'm not arguing that. But the guy can do it. And on a team that's terrible. So they said, wait a minute. And nobody thought Jalen Hurts was going to be the guy. Wait, he might be the guy. They surround him with talent, and he's been nothing but the guy ever since. There are about 26 teams in the NFL right now that would be better if Jalen Hurts was their quarterback. It's just the reality of it, right? Like, I see these other teams that are around the league. You have Joe Burrow, right? Look at the weapons he had on offense. They go 9-8, they don't make the playoffs. But Jalen Hurts was in an NFC East that was a tougher division last year because the Steelers were not that great of a team and everybody knew it. Right? They didn't even have a quarterback. They only really had the Ravens. They had the Browns in their division, right? They split games with the Browns and they almost lost to them again week 1. We don't lose those games. That's the reality. These close games like this Cowboys game, the Eagles do not lose those games. And Jalen Hurts played, in my opinion, a flawless game. He didn't throw for a ton of yards, but he did not have any turnovers. He didn't throw into any coverages that he didn't need to. I was watching film, and there were times where he would see a cornerback come up and kind of, that play's blown up, that's gone. He was so decisive. Instead of just that thing he does where he kind of stands around, he was standing tall in clean pockets. If his checks weren't there, he bails out and makes a play happen. He just played smart football. He was very calculated, and he did exactly what he needed to do to win that game. And he has no ego or no issues where I need to be the guy, whereas a guy like Lamar Jackson, hey, I know I have Derrick Henry behind me, but I need to throw here on this 3rd and 2. Why? That's the thing that I love about him. Joe Burrow has that same thing. But the problem is he doesn't have somebody behind him to hand the ball off to that's anywhere near the guy that those guys have, right? And even Josh Allen has James Cook. So
yeah, I think Chase Brown is up and coming though. I saw last year it was between him and Zach Morris, and Chase Brown took the starting role, and this year, he's going to take the starting role too. And he had I think he had a touchdown this week. Yeah, and I think he's up and coming. He's a young guy. I think that's fair to say. I guess we could just see where the season goes. And the big thing is you got to score points and you got to have protection. I don't even transition to the Giants. Let's talk a little bit about my Giants. There's not much to talk about. It hasn't been much to talk about the last few years, but that's the same thing. Like I said, I went to the game. Russ just had no time in his pocket, man. You can't do anything when you're getting rushed in 2-3 seconds. Like you were saying, he was looking at his check downs. He was doing some side passes. Freaking Tyrone Tracy catches the ball and then he fumbles it. It's just we got the weapons, but we just can't. We don't have the line to give him that time, and it sucks because Andrew Thomas is our old pro left tackle. He, for whatever reason, not play week 1. They put in James Hudson that they got from the Browns, and guess what? All the rushes, all the quarterback pressures came from that left side. Will Russ do better this week if Andrew Thomas plays? Statistically, it could be possible because when you have Andrew Thomas there on the left side, they can at least move the ball. And I'm a big guy. I want Dart to play. I got my little Dart jersey right now.
Yes, I agree. Yes. And I think that's more important than people realize in the Giants organization, because here's the reality of the situation with that is that you have a guy in Malik Neighbors who you have until his contract is up to prove to him that it's a situation where he's going to win, because he will walk. That guy and his temperament, he will walk for money to a team that's a contender. You need to prove that you have a reason for him to stay and something to build off of, or he's going to leave. That guy is a unbelievable talent, and already in the first week, Brian Daboll's not throwing him the ball. Why is he not getting targets?
I don't know if that was the case. I don't know if they just couldn't get to him. Like I said, I was there, man, and contrary to popular belief, we held them to 14 points up until the 4th quarter.
Yeah.
Our defense, I think, is the best. That line, obviously, you got Kayvon Thibodeau, you got Abdul Carter, you got Dexter Lawrence, you got Brian Burns, who had 2 sacks. That line had some pressures, and Jaden got away. It's gonna happen. We signed Javon Holland, the safety. We had Paulson Adebo. We signed them. Those were free agency pickups that we got. I don't think our defense played terrible. Truly, you know what I mean? If you could hold the Redskins offense to 14 points up until, like I said, the fourth quarter. We just couldn't score.
They couldn't keep him off the field. They couldn't keep him off the field.
Dude, you cannot win games if you don't score. Like that's really what it came down to. I think the upside is defense. And will we be able to score? We've had this issue the last 3-4 years. I think what was it? The stat came out 3 years in a row, season openers, we can't score a touchdown. Like it's insanity. You know what I mean? Like
well,
last year, we didn't score at MetLife last year until I think the last week, versus the Colts, or like the second to last game. Like you're not gonna win games if you can't score, and that's really what it comes down to.
No, and I think the Giants organization is under no illusion that this year is a year where they're going to do much. But I will say I do have a lot of hope for that organization. I think the Giants are the bad team right now that are in the best situation because you guys had a good draft. You guys are making the second good draft in a row. You guys are making good moves. Dart's going to be pretty decent, I think, and I don't know how good he will be, but I know that he'll be better than Russell Wilson. I love Malik Nabers. I wanted the Eagles to trade up for Jahad Campbell. He's an animal. Your defensive line, as you mentioned, is very good. Your secondary is going to need a little bit of help, but that's something you build over time. I think that even if you guys get 4 wins this year, you get another good draft class, you have a quarterback now, you get rid of Russ, you have some promise there. I don't think Daboll's a bad coach. There's only so much you can do though when there's some pieces that are just clearly missing. Like the offensive line, the thing about the offensive line is you can't have 3 good offensive linemen. You need 5 good offensive linemen. If you have any cracks in that line, that it will get exploited. But the big takeaway that I had from the Giants Commanders game was just that the Commanders out. You could not keep the Commanders offense off the field. You couldn't keep the defense off the field, and they're going to grind out a win that way because that's a tired defense. That's a defense it's getting grinded out. There's nothing you can do, right? And I just think that Russell Wilson, he's got to go. He's just not good. And honestly, I think that he is one of the most overrated quarterbacks in the history of the NFL. I personally believe that because he's always had a great team around him during the years he succeeded, and his defense was an all-time defense, and they got 1 ring out of that. I'm sorry, if you're that good of a quarterback, you're audibling to hand the ball off to Marshawn Lynch. And you know what? I don't give a fuck if Pete Carroll yells at me or not. That's a ring on the line, brother. I'm making that audible. I am not taking that throw, and I'm not going to be sitting there like walking off the field like a big dumbass. I mean, look.
Yeah, biggest regret, 100%. And you know what? I know you've seen the videos. Pete apologizes. Marshawn Lynch. Oh wow. Sorry, I'm watching the game too, man.
Yeah.
They just had a Jaden Reed, I want to say.
Yeah, you're good.
But yeah, man, I think that's a regret. Russ, you know what? When I came into this year we signed Russ, we signed Jameis. I'm a Jameis fan too. I think Jameis, he's gonna give you what he's gonna give you. He's either gonna get a lot of touchdowns or a lot of interceptions or both. You know what I mean? Like last year with that Browns offense, he made them, I guess, maybe not computable, but he made them exciting to watch. You know what I mean? He made some decent moves with Jerry Jeudy, who was a failed draft pick in Denver. You know what I mean? He made some moves with that. And obviously you had Nick Chubb that was out. You had a lot of guys on that too. The whole Deshaun Watson issue. But I think Russ, we all knew this year I'm not expecting anything. I don't think the Giants are expecting anything. Russ got a 1-year contract. James got a 2-year contract. We drafted Dart. Maybe it was going to be Shador. That was the talks. That didn't happen. But yeah, I agree with you, man. But I also don't agree with starting a rookie quarterback because you put too much pressure on them their first season. You know what I mean? I think they do have time to develop. What I saw in the preseason, I do want to start. I think he played well at Ole Miss in the SEC. That's the hardest conference, and he played well. He put up numbers. You know what I mean?
See, I disagree. I disagree with the pressure thing because I think he's in the perfect situation for this because he has absolutely no expectation to succeed and he can kind of ball out and play free and let's see what you got. Like this year, if the coaching staff says, look, kid, we don't really think that this is going to be our year, which is not something they would say, but in that kind of thing, hey, man, just go out there and ball out. Let's see what you got. Just let them play because the thing is what do you have to lose? The worst thing that you could have is a draft pick that's actually going to greatly impact your next year. And I think that you guys are a few pieces away from being a perennial playoff team because guess what? The Cowboys are not going to be that team the next couple of years. The Commanders and the Eagles are where they are. So you guys could be fighting for wild card spots. And you know what? The Giants are a dangerous team in a wild card spot. The history has shown that. They always make runs in the wild card spot. And I mean, look, you guys beat Minnesota a couple years ago, and when you played us in the divisional, you guys are a dark horse team that for whatever reason, when you get in the playoffs, you're the anti-Cowboys. When you guys get in the playoffs, however you grind out a playoff berth, you make some fucking moves, and that's something that I respect. And I think that look, you know, you got to do it. You just got to go for it because you have to start. It's not this season for you guys is not about this season. This season for you guys is about the future. And I think that your future, you have a lot of promising players out there. I think Tyrone Tracy is a pretty good football player. He needs an offensive line.
He just needs to help. He just needs a little bit of. He didn't even start last year. He got 1,000 scrimmage yards. He wasn't even the starter until week 4 or 5. I want to say. You know, he's definitely promising. He was a 5th round pick from Purdue also. But dude, a big one, Cam Scatterbo. He didn't play too much either. But you know what? The few plays I did see, he's a dog, man. He's not scared of contact. He wants to be in that situation. We didn't use him as much as I wanted to use him either. But it is what it is. We had Wan'Dale Robinson. He had a few good plays. You know, a lot of people don't know much about him, but he's a good slot guy,
he's
man.
Good.
He can catch fast. He's a sleeper. Darius Slayton, he's been there. I want to use Hyatt a little bit more. We haven't been able to do the deep ball since we drafted Hyatt. And I wanted to see that from Russ. And you know what? It sucks that I didn't get to see it, but like you said, it's maybe we'll see more of that this week, next week, the weeks to come. And I mean, I'm optimistic, man. I'm thinking we can only go up from here. You're right. You know, we got a lot of young players. And
The problem with the Giants right now is they're just not they're not finding ways to get the ball in the hands of their best players. I mean, that's just what it is to me, is that you have Malik Nabers on the field, you get Malik Nabers the ball. Like when you guys had OBJ was getting 3 targets in the first quarter regardless of game script. It didn't matter if you were up 20 or you were down 20. You're get the ball, just like with the Eagles. Scheme the ball into A.J. Brown's hands because on a slant, he's the type of guy with yak who can go fucking turn a 5-yard pass into a 15-yard pass. Malik Nabers is the same kind of guy. And like Malik Nabers is a special kind of talent in a 50-50 ball. He's open. To me, if it's a one-on-one, it's a 50-50 ball, Malik Nabers is open. That dude is unfucking believable. I love watching that guy play football. He's just a good player. And
it's hard because you guys won that game and A.J. Brown had no targets.
No targets.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. That's the reason why I think our team's going to be so dangerous, because even when you cut our legs off and both of our arms, we're going to still crawl our way into a win. I mean, that's just how it is. Like that defense played as good a game as they could have played, and we still scored 24 points and had I think it was just under 300 total yards of offense. I mean, there's no two ways about it. Like a team that can grind out wins like that's going to be dangerous. And now, speaking of a team trying to grind out a win and failing, let's talk about a game that I think it was a really interesting one. The Chiefs and the Chargers. I think, and I'm going to say this early, I want to get out ahead of this because I do believe this. I think the Chiefs could possibly be 3rd in the AFC West this year. And I'm going to talk about why. So it's not that they lost, it's the way that they lost. Losing Joe Thuney is a massive deal because he's not just a good player. He's also a leader of your offensive line. He's a guy that's going to see things and call things out. He's going to make a big difference. Creed Humphrey's a very good player, but that offensive line's got a couple rookies on it. It's got a couple unknowns on it. The fact that they lost at the line of scrimmage is something to me is very interesting because that team never, ever lost like that. And their defensive front was not getting pressure on Justin Herbert, which is a team that they've eaten alive. Look, the Chargers just lost Joey Bosa. They lost an all-pro defensive end, and they still lost in the defensive front. I think that this week against the Eagles, the Chiefs are going to get destroyed. I just don't see how they can match up. I really don't. Like, that team looked bad. Mahomes, yet again, you got to give the guy credit. In spite of the fact that that Xavier Worthy got taken out of the game early, Travis Kelce is a shadow of his former self. He still made it a game. Got to give him credit where it's due. Yeah. He's not going to be able to drag this team over the finish line this year. Look, the AFC West, the Raiders are going to be a better team. Look, the Raiders have some weapons. The Raiders, Geno Smith, Ashton Janty, Brock Bowers, you have Jacoby Myers. That team, that's a team. That's a squad this year. Their defense is not that bad. Like, they actually have the opportunity, but I think that the Broncos and I think that the Chargers are going to be the two people at the head of the AFC, the two teams at the head of the AFC West because they're complete teams. The Chiefs had Mahomes. They relied on him, and it stopped them from building a complete team. And for me, that's not something that's going to win. And they're finally at the point now where it's not going to work anymore. The teams around them made the moves they had to make, and they're just not going to be that team no matter how well coached they are. That secondary looked bad. That secondary never looked bad under Spags. That team, the way that they lost is I have not seen that team play like that in 4 years. And I have to be honest, I just don't see it. I do not see how they're going to grind out those close wins again this year.
Yeah, I think just what you were saying, Xavier Worthy. How long is he out for? He was out that.
I want to say like I'll look it up just to be sure, but I'm pretty sure it's like 4 to 6 weeks.
Let's check that, Dan. Let's check it out.
Rashee Rice.
Yeah, Rashee Rice. He's I think 4 weeks just for legal issues. But yeah, those are 2 big receivers. And then so who's your you got Juju Smith-Schuster, which I mean he's not horrible. You got Hollywood Brown, Pacheco. I thought he was quiet, man. Pacheco's a Jersey guy. I love Pacheco personally. He went to Rutgers.
Great player.
I think he's great, but he really didn't do anything either. And you're right. Kelce, he did have a touchdown. He played. He's not what Kelce was the last 2-3 years, you know. But yeah, the Raiders. I even think that Geno Smith signing was big too. You know what I mean? That's gonna change. Brock Bowers. You got Genty. Like you said, Jacoby. I know he just got that contract. And I didn't like what I saw from Bo Nix, honestly, from week 1. I didn't like how he played at all. But Cortland Sutton also, that's great. You know what I mean? He's a great receiver right there. They had J.K. Dobbins, which that guy could produce too. I think he's a sleeper. A lot of people don't give him credit. He's got it. Evan Ingram, I want to say got hurt, but when we had him, he was horrible. But he was good in Jacksonville. I think he had the most receptions out of tight ends for a few years. Mm-hmm. Who's up? You were saying, and yeah, Justin Herbert finally, I think he's starting to click because you know what a big thing was with that game? Quentin Johnson, man, that guy couldn't catch a cold. And you know what? He caught 2 touchdowns. So is he finally like getting in the groove and can catch? You know what I mean? Who else? Lad McConkey. That boy can ball, man. For real. And then they had Hampton, the rookie. I didn't really see too much from him. But you know what? He was able to move the ball here and there. So I think the Chargers may take the division.
Yeah, and I'm gonna go ahead and give my exciting White of the Week award to Lad McConkey because that dude, he's just good at football, huh? I mean, he's just a good football player. I like him. I mean, he's gonna be a guy who for a few years. I mean, he looks to me like what Cooper Kupp would have been if his first couple years he actually had that rhythm. Like the guys. And I'm not just drawing that comp because they're both white guys. It's just I see so much of that. Like he's a guy who's just a good possession receiver, but he has that yards after catch and explosive play ability. I mean, he's just a good all-around option. I think having a veteran like Keenan Allen come back to a system that he's familiar with will help him get a better go than he had in Chicago. Because the thing is with Chicago, that was a new system. Caleb Williams is trash. I'm going to be honest right now. We'll talk about that later. But I think that Keenan Allen bringing that leadership, bringing that understanding of their offense and what they're trying to do, I think is going to be a big thing for him. I expect him to have about 400 yards this year, but I think he's going to be a guy that's going to really help guys like Lad McConkey, really help guys like Quentin Johnson. Quentin Johnson is a guy that is young and he still has a shot. And look, man, when you have a guy like Justin Herbert, you never count him out. I also think that the Najee Harris signing was so perfect for them because Najee Harris was never a reception receiver, and Harbaugh does not like to throw to his running back. So Najee Harris is an atypical Harbaugh running back. I mean, he's just very, very good for that system. I think that the Chargers are going to be a threat this year. The thing to me, the question that I have after week 1, and we'll reassess after week 4, but the question I have after week 1 is, are they going to be able to, who's going to be there in the playoffs? Are they going to be able to beat the Bills? Are they going to be able to beat the Ravens? Which, you know, we're going to talk about that game for sure. But I mean, are they going to be able to beat those teams down the stretch? Because those guys won it. I mean, those teams won it. The AFC is very competitive right now. I mean, even the Steelers-Jets games, that I see 2 teams. From what I saw, there's nothing that I saw from that game that doesn't show me 2 playoff caliber teams. I mean, as much as you want to talk shit about the Jets, so the AFC is going to be there. Is Justin Herbert going to show up in January? That's always been the question with him, and that's the reason why I rank him around 7 or 8, because he has the numbers, but down the stretch when it matters, the guy starts to fall apart. So if he can string together a good season, the Chargers are a team that can compete for something big this year.
Yeah, man, I think the AFC by far excels in talent, like everywhere. When I think of the NFC, I think of obviously the Eagles. I think they're the powerhouse. I think the Lions probably close second. And last year, what was it? The Vikings had a good but that's just I don't see any other NFC team. I don't see the NFC at all. The AFC is just they're powerhouses, man. Like you said, they just got so many good teams. That's like I said, it's just gonna be a fight. Will Mahomes be out the equation this year? Who knows, man? Because when it comes to the playoffs, that guy also just does not lose for whatever reason. Maybe the refs have his back, maybe they don't. So you got the Chiefs, you got the Chargers, you got the Bills, obviously, you got the Ravens. It's gonna be a good. It's going to be a fight this year, for real.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, the Packers are really going to have to prove it to me because people are very high on the Packers. Like, they're the odds-on favorite to win the NFC.
Young. They're a young team.
Yeah, they're a young team for sure. I mean, they're a wild card, but they're a team that right now is the odds-on favorite to win the NFC North, and I don't buy it. They have to earn that for me because, honestly, I am really not high on Jordan Love. Like, a lot of people are high on Jordan Love. I'm not high on Jordan Love. Like, I'm not high on Jordan Love. I think that Jalen Hurts is a better quarterback. I think Jaden Daniels is a better quarterback. I think that I think Herbert's a much better quarterback. I think that, honestly, after week 1, Danny Dynasty looks better than Jordan Love. Like, I think that Jordan Love is just, to me, I don't see anything from him. Like, yeah, he has good counting stats, but for me, people are so high on counting stats. Okay, if you're so high on counting stats, then why was Baker Mayfield not an MVP finalist last year? He had 4,500 yards on the dot, 42 touchdowns, and 16 interceptions. Why is that guy not talked about as a great quarterback in the NFL? He's an elite quarterback.
He is, and I think he gets so much hate. But he went to the Browns, which was just a terrible organization. Then he went to the Panthers. He went to the Rams, for a quick little stint, and then he transformed that Bucs team. The Bucs team has been in the playoffs. They gave you guys a run for your money. What was it? Was it last year or the year before?
They beat us. They beat us in the playoffs the year before when we had the collapse. Which I was actually the first time in my life I ever rooted against the Eagles, and I wanted them to lose because I just wanted to stop watching that team play football. It was terrible. And then last year they beat us. I actually went to the game. I'm going to the Bucs game again for whatever reason. 3 years in a row, we played the Buccaneers in Tampa Bay. I don't know why we keep doing that. I don't know why the game's never in Philly, but I'm going to be going to that game again this year for the 3rd year in a row. We're playing the Bucs. Last year they beat us bad, but we also had Devontae Smith out, Lane Johnson out, Dallas Goedert out. Like, our team was banged up. Like, don't get me wrong. But they're a good team. And when I watch Baker live, his arm is incredible. The balls that guy has to throw balls into tight windows and hit it. And look, Mike Evans is one of the best wide receivers I've ever seen. The guy could literally have me at quarterback and still get 1,000 yards receiving, it feels like. So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't understand why Baker Mayfield's not talked in the same sentences with the Josh Allens and Lamar Jacksons of the world. The guy put up insane numbers on a team that is objectively worse than both of those teams, and every single year the Buccaneers team is dangerous, and it's because of a guy like him. And that's why I feel like guys like Jordan Love, to me, I just don't see why people love that guy so much. And that's another reason why I get so upset about the Jalen Hurts stuff. It's not because he's an Eagle. It's because of the fact that you get a guy like Jordan Love who has good counting stats, but he doesn't do anything special. You go to the playoffs, they put up 10 points, and he makes stupid mistakes. And he's in a situation right now to succeed. He's got a great defense. He's got a good offense. He's got a good line. He's got good coaches. He has every opportunity to succeed. And down the line, he's going to really have to prove it in an NFC that's much weaker. So I don't know. What I saw from the Chargers is that I strongly believe that they're going to win the AFC West. I think they're the most complete team right now. I think they're the team in the best situation. I think they have the best mix of veterans and young players, and I think that Justin Herbert is going to have his breakout season. He looks like he's in his prime, and everything that he did impressed me for a guy that I'm usually pretty harsh on because I think that there's a lot of things that he does that I don't really get, and for a guy with an arm as good as his, the fact that he struggled as much as he did surprised me, but that dude's a baller, and from that game, I really, really think that the style of football that the Chargers played to beat the Chiefs really exposed a lot of problems that the Chiefs are going to have this year. And I think that stuff going on film week 1 is not something that you want because people are starting to see the cracks in that defense and in the cracks in that scheme. So there's nothing that I saw from that game. That score at the end does not represent how close the actual game was. It never really felt like the Chiefs had a chance in this one at any point.
And you mentioned, I forgot Keenan Allen went back. Him and Herbert, I think, had 1 or 2 years together. They have a little history, and Keenan Allen's another guy. He's a veteran. He's gonna put up some numbers.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know.
So let's talk about the Duke product size elephant in the room. Danny Dynasty against the Miami Dolphins, the Indianapolis Colts. Here's the thing. I actually think that this one is going to be every week. I'm going to kind of pick a game that I think is a little fluky. I think this game's a little fluky because I don't think the Dolphins are really that bad. I think that there is some things that went on. I think not having Jalen Ramsey does make a difference. But the thing is that the Colts offense has a lot of players that are very volatile, right? Michael Pittman's a very volatile player. You have the running back Jonathan Taylor, very volatile guy. He can have those weeks where he can only get 30 yards. Like he has those weeks where he just cannot get anything going. For as talented as he is, Danny Jones. As fun as he can be to watch, he's like our new Jameis Winston. Like he's just fun to watch. You never know what's going to happen, but he's extremely volatile. If he can string it together for 3 or 4 weeks, then I'll start to give the Colts a chance here because they do have a really, really weak division. They play in a very weak division.
I think you know better than anybody. I defended Danny Dimes to the end. I really did. A piece of me wanted him to just do so good, man, because I saw the potential, and he showed it in Indy. If he made some good throws, but even if he doesn't have to throw it, the guy could run. The guy is a dual threat quarterback, man. Like I know there was that one game against the Eagles where he tripped over himself right before the end zone, but the guy is fast, man. You know, the guy definitely can run, and I think that was just a weird week, and it just raised some questions. Like you said, perfect fluke game. Was Miami that bad? They couldn't move the ball with Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Shane. What was going on? And yeah, I don't even know. Did that the tight end from Penn State? I know Dallas, not Dallas.
Gesicki.
No,
you're talking about the dude from the Colts.
Yeah, did he have a good game? I really didn't watch that game.
Player stats Colts. Talking about Tyler Warren.
Yeah.
He had 7 catches for 76 yards. Pretty good.
Yeah, as a rookie, I mean, that's good. So, you're going to add him to the with Josh Downs, Michael Pittman, and Jonathan Taylor. Mm-hmm. That's a decent setup you got going on there. You know what I mean?
The only thing
Danny had time in the pocket.
Mm-hmm.
Danny had time, which he's never really had. And I always said, he's going to either be a really good backup or he's going to go to another team and which brings me to my next topic. Is Anthony Richardson that horrible? The first round pick.
Yes.
They thought, you know what? I don't think you're wrong. You know what I mean? But that's a guy you drafted in the first round. You thought was going to be your future quarterback.
He's a Jamarcus Russell to me because the thing is that he's a big guy with all the talent in the world, but he just
lazy.
Mindset. His mindset's not there. Like when he said, "Oh, I'm tired" and all that stuff like that. Look, he just doesn't have the mindset, man. You have to be in this league. You have to be a killer. And this is another topic that I want to bring up. And the reason why I feel like the way we look at quarterbacks is skewed, and the reason why guys get under, like guys like Brock Purdy, guys like Jalen Hurts, they get underrated because the thing is that when we grew up, you have to understand that there were 12 Hall of Fame quarterbacks playing at one time. The first 15 years that we watched football, there were guys who had 5,000 passing yards, and they were the second passing leader that year, right? 5,000, right? So our generation, the way we view quarterbacks will forever be skewed. And I think the way that we rate quarterbacks will forever be skewed because it felt like every team in the NFL had a Hall of Fame quarterback back in the day. I mean, I was talking to my dad about this the other day, and it took me forever to even mention Kurt Warner, right, at that time. And Kurt Warner's a Hall of Famer, right? Because you have Drew Brees, Ben Roethlisberger, Phillip Rivers, you have Tom Brady, you have Peyton Manning, you have Aaron Rodgers, you have Brett Favre. I mean, every team. I mean, shit, you even had like Alex Smith in the 49ers, and he was looked at it. Carson Palmer is a guy that will be forgotten about, who was a great quarterback. If he doesn't get injured so severely early in his career, that guy might be in Hall of Fame talks, right? You have so many good quarterbacks. Nowadays, we're realizing how special that generation was because if you look at the 70s, you had, Roger Staubach and Terry Bradshaw, and then you had like Kenny Anderson was like the fallout, right? And then in the 80s, you have Joe Montana. That's kind of it, right? In the 90s, you have like Troy Aikman and you have like John Elway and you have like Brett Favre. That's kind of it, right?
Yeah, Steve Young too, man. He did get the Niners a few rings. As well.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like there's guys that are so good they kind of overshadow everybody else. Everybody was good. The 10th best quarterback in the NFL in 2010 is like a top 3 lock right now, right? It's just how it is. It just feels like not a lot of teams have quarterbacks. So you don't have guys, and the reason I bring that up is because guys like Anthony Richardson do not have room to fail. Because the way that the quarterback position is evaluated, it's so scrutinized. And look, the reality is in the offseason, it was anybody's job. They made that very clear the entire offseason. Daniel Jones beat him out for his job. And honestly, after week 1, the only thing that the Colts did prove to me this week is that if the defense they're playing against doesn't show up, they're going to eat. Their whole team's going to eat. Everybody on that team had a big game because they opened the floodgates. The Dolphins defensively at all 3 levels, from line all the way back to safety, just looked bad. There was nothing good. And honestly, that Jalen Ramsey move is gonna hurt them this year. I don't think it's gonna hurt them this much this year, but I definitely think that this result, I mean, the Colts, I'm going to need to see a few more weeks out of them before I really start to say anything big, and I'm going to need to see a few more weeks out of the Dolphins, but I do not believe that the Dolphins are this bad of a football team.
Well, we saw it last year too, how they didn't perform up to standards. And I think that's an attestament to them losing Brian Flores. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Brian Flores took Van Ginkel with him too to Minnesota. Mm-hmm. He's a defensive masterclass. That's really what it comes down to. Yeah, I think Brian Flores is very underrated when being a defensive coordinator because he's a big blitz guy, man. You know, we saw that the other day when they were playing Chicago. They came back in that game. Mm-hmm. You know, they ended up winning it.
So next game I want to talk about, because there's a few we can skip. I mean, for time purposes, and also just because there's a few games that really I think aren't gonna really show us much. Steelers Jets.
Oh yeah,
that was a great game. Honestly, I really, really believe that Justin Fields is a good quarterback, man. But he's like one of those guys. He's the guy that I don't really know how good he is. We don't know I know that he's good. Is he average? Is he slightly below average? Is he slightly above average? The way that I felt last season, I don't feel like he should have lost that job in Pittsburgh. I think that he played well enough to keep his job. He started off, 7-1 or something like that. And then Russ comes out, which was just a weird situation. And the way that the Steelers run their organization is very strange to me. But the way that I looked at it, the Jets defense had a rough game, but their defensive unit is good. And I think losing Robert Saleh is a big issue there, because I think that he should have stayed as a defensive coordinator personally for that team, because he was incredible for their defense. I think they have good talent on defense. I think they have some talent on offense. They have potential this year, especially because their division, again, not the strongest. The only team that they really have in that division is the Bills, right? So, the Dolphins look terrible, and the Patriots, I have no idea what's going to happen with them this year because they have talent, but they look terrible right now. But I mean, again, it's week 1. Aaron Rodgers, I'm not going to say he's back yet. I'm really, really not going to say he's back yet because I don't know. I mean, even last year with the Jets, he had showed some promise. But I don't know. This to me looks like 2 playoff teams. I mean, they just look like 2 playoff teams. And you can say the same thing for the Steelers defense. They gave up 32 points to the Jets, but they're still a good unit, right? And I mean, Jalen Ramsey had a pretty good game, all things considered, and not just in that last play. I think this is 2 playoff teams. That's the way I see it.
I can agree with you. Sorry, I'm having a little bit of a issue here. What's going on?
You're good.
Doesn't want to charge. But yeah, man, I think the Jets looked how they should have looked with Aaron Rodgers last year. I think that's what everybody expected, at least last season. I think they look good, to hit on Justin Fields. I think Justin Fields got did dirty in Chicago. He didn't have any weapons. And then what do? They let him draft Caleb Williams, Cole Kmet, Rome Odunze. They brought in Keenan Allen at that time. They had DJ Moore, DeAndre Swift. He had a good season with you guys, and then you guys, when you guys got Barkley, he left. He went to Chicago. But yeah, I think Justin Fields also. Yeah, he played great last year in Pittsburgh. Those 4 or 5 weeks, they were on a little winning streak. Yeah, defense was winning most of those games. But who did he have? He had George Pickens, Pat Freiermuth, Najee Harris. And who's the other guy? Jalen Warren, Deontay Johnson, who got cut halfway through the season. So I think that was like a fluke year. I think it is attested to he's back with his buddy Garrett Wilson this year. They had a great game. They were in college together in Ohio. That was great. Breece Hall had a pretty decent running game. Who's the secondary? Allen, he had a pretty good game.
Yeah, I think Justin Fields, the Jets, and that dude, that Jets defense is awesome. You know, with the brothers, and then you got Sauce Gardner. You know, I think they do look like a good team. They could be good if they stick to the basics. Aaron Rodgers, a lot of people are talking about his age and he's washed and this and that. Aaron Rodgers looked like he did not miss a beat, man, and he was killing it, dude. You know,
Yeah.
I think both those teams looked how they should have looked last year with opposite quarterbacks, or at least those were the expectations. And they both, and you know what? They both had something to play for because those were both the teams that gave up on respective quarterbacks for each other, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Steelers are going to have the same problem that the Raiders are going to have, that they're a solid team, but their divisions are so tough, right? The AFC North is really, really tough right now. The AFC West is really, really tough right now. And again, we're talking about offensive players right now because we didn't really learn a lot about these defenses, right? Week 1, there's going to be some games where, you know, there's going to be a shit ton of points scored, right? Week 1 is that week where you're going to see a bunch of points scored stuff. You don't really have film. There's some moving parts. Like, you have two teams with new quarterbacks that you don't really know what to expect from, you know, after their last season, because Fields had got off to a good start, but then the last half of the year, so we don't know what he was really working on the last half of the year. All I have to say is that's two offenses that looked really good. And the Jets and the Steelers both put themselves in position. I mean, shit, the Jets defense at the end made the Steelers have to kick a 60-yard field goal. They just were unlucky that they have Chris Boswell, who is, you know, probably the best guy in the NFL that you want to have taken that kick, right? I mean, the guy's incredible. He was on my fantasy team, but you know, like, I think these are two teams that I expect to see in January, barring anything crazy, but the problem is that they're probably both going to be fighting for wild card spots. So there's a couple other teams that could potentially take those away because, again, the Jets, they're not beating the Bills in that division. It's just not going to happen. And then you have the Steelers. They might be able to beat out the Bengals, but they're not beating out the Ravens. That's just not going to happen. So there are two teams that are in a wild card slot, in my opinion, and yeah, I just think this was an offensive, a good offensive showing. So,
and you know what? You mentioned the Patriots. I just want to touch on them a little bit. So,
yeah, we can go to that game if you want. We can talk about that one.
I didn't really watch the game. I watched the highlights. I just want to speak on them a little bit, just because this is Drake May's first year basically as the starter. Last year he didn't really start. I don't really know what to expect from him. Stephon Diggs, they added him, but he didn't really have any. I don't think he had any targets. Maybe he had 1 or 2 receptions. He didn't really have a big game. But they have I think they have a really decent tight end over there who was their leading last year. You know, I think they have potential. You know what I mean? But I think it's safe to say that they won't be, a contender. You know what I mean? But I think they could possibly get 6 wins. You know, it depends.
Yeah,
but I do think that
they're one of those teams that's the reason I take 4 weeks to evaluate, because they have a new head coach. They're starting Drake May. They have, Travion Henderson, right?
Yeah.
You get Diggs, who I don't even know how I feel about him anymore. I don't even know if he he had a couple good years. I don't really know in the grand scheme of things if his career will be looked back on as he was a great wide receiver, because he only had one really good year and then another pretty good year. So he's kind of a guy that's his career is very weird to me. Because he's a guy who is a very good wide receiver, or so I thought, but he's moved around so much and he just kind of seems to lose a little bit every time he moves. Their defense, I think defensively, made very good moves. I think the Milton Williams signing was very good. I think that they signed Grady Jarrett, right? I think is who they got. But I think they got some good guys on that defensive unit. And, with that new head coach, Vrabel, coming in, it's going to really take some time for me to kind of evaluate. But I think that Ashton Jeanty, being as though his first contact was basically behind the offensive line the entire time, to get 33 yards, to fight for a touchdown, having Geno Smith throw for over 360 yards, with the weapons they have on offense, this Raiders team could actually be better than we thought that they were. It's going to depend on how they are defensively, because again, with the way that the Patriots offensive looked, I didn't really learn anything about the Raiders defense in this game. outside of the fact that Max Crosby's really good at football. I just didn't really learn anything defensively about them this game. Like, I don't really know moving forward what they're going to look like. I don't know what either of these teams are really going to look like, but I do think that Ashton Jeanty is going to have a decent year. Brock Bowers is him, though. Brock Bowers is an incredible football player. He's the best tight end in the NFL right now. For my money, Brock Bowers is the best tight end in the NFL. That guy is incredible.
He was the best tight end last year as a rookie. You know what I mean? The guy definitely has that will to want to win. And I think, like you were saying before, Raiders defense. Maybe I'm just being ignorant. I don't really know anybody besides Max Crosby on that team or on that defense. You know what I mean? So that's a lot of issues with a lot of these teams that we were talking about. Is you got good offensive weapons that could possibly score. But what are they going to be able to do defensively? Are they going to be able to stop the other team? Are they going to be able to hold them? Are they going to be able to give offense time to breathe? You know what I mean? And actually move the ball. That's I think I'm up. I think I'm up on the Raiders. I might be on the Raiders. I might be on the Geno wave.
Look, man, Geno actually has such an interesting story, such a good story. But I think he's a good quarterback. I mean, he already had 3 good years in Seattle. And now he's already off to a hot start here in the Raiders. Like, I'm going to give him his flowers. The guy in my mind's a top 15 quarterback right now. He just is. Like, he's a good player. And I think that, the Seahawks weren't an amazing team. Like, he had Smith and Jigba, he had DK Metcalf. Like, the offensive lines looked shaky at a lot of points, but they looked good enough with him at quarterback, and I think that the Raiders looked pretty good with him at quarterback yet again. I think Geno Smith is a legit quarterback. He's old and all that kind of stuff, but that doesn't really matter. The guy's putting up numbers. Yeah. He's picking apart defenses that are making mistakes. It's really going to come down to, if the defense can continue to play games like this, because it's going to be hard for them to score points, the Raiders, because they're going to be kind of a one-dimensional team because they did not look good in the run blocking the department at all, but pass blocking they were really good. So it's just kind of this weird thing where, like, pass blocking wise, Geno kind of had a lot of time to throw, but Ashton Jeanty just did not have any room. They look like the damn 90s Detroit Lions when he's touching the ball. I mean, he didn't have any room and still had 35 yards and a touchdown. Like, for me, that is a promising thing. I think the Patriots. Look, the only thing that I think is they're going to have to figure out how they want to utilize these new weapons that they have. With Travion Henderson, Stephon Diggs, it's going to take some time to get a little bit of that chemistry going and a new head coach. But defensively, like, the Patriots do have a good defensive line. They have multiple players on their defensive line that are solid, and I think that they weren't really able to get a lot of pressure on the quarterback in pass rush. So I think the Raiders' offensive line looks good for pass blocking. So we're going to see moving forward. The Raiders are going to have some games coming up. They're going to get tested, and I think that if they come away out of the first 4 weeks 2-2, they have a shot. You know what I mean? Like, I think that they're going to be a decent team.
I do want to touch on Diggs. I know you mentioned that. Back to that. I think Diggs he's a solid receiver, but like most solid receivers, you're going to get double teamed. You know what I mean? So the last few teams he has been on, what was it? Last year he was on the Texans. And that's another team where you have Tank Dell, which is a great receiver. You have Nico Collins also. Excuse me. So it's kind of hard to get certain reps to these guys. You know what I mean? When he was in Buffalo, he had a pretty good stunt in Buffalo also. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So
in Minnesota,
I don't know, man. Yeah, well, yeah, Minnesota is where he started off. Big that catch in the playoffs. I think it was versus the Saints where they won that game.
Yeah, but what happened next week though? Did they lose 38-7 against the Eagles in the NFC Championship game? Anyway, yeah, go ahead.
And I think I don't know. I think that's a good question. I think this is where the Patriots obviously brought him in to be that guy that he is. You know what I mean? Mm. And again, I think week 1 he had maybe 1 or 2 catches. He really didn't do anything. He might have gotten 0 catches.
He also came off a bad injury though. He came off a bad injury too, so it's going to take him some time.
Yes, and granted, so I guess I think he's a playmaker, but also I don't know. I guess we'll see. I'm excited to see how that works out.
Absolutely. So Panthers, Jaguars, Cardinals, Saints. Those 2 games, what I really want to say is that I think that with the Cardinals, Mika Egbuka plays for the Buccaneers. What's his name? Marvin Harrison Jr. Marvin Harrison Jr. is a damn good football player, but he's going to be one of those guys that's either going to be loyal to the Cardinals forever and never live up to his potential, or he's going to be an A.J. Brown type player that's going to go somewhere else and just put up 1,500-yard seasons. That guy is very, very good. Kyler Murray, he just puts up good stats and finds ways to win games, but he's so ugly to watch at quarterback, man. Like, he just misses his spots. He makes weird decisions that just work. He runs around for 60 yards to gain 6 in a check down. Like, I don't understand this guy. Like, I don't get it. Like, he just wins football games, and I just don't understand how. Like, it's just so disgusting to watch. Like, and the Saints are terrible. I mean, there's nothing that the Saints did that was impressive to me at any level except for the fact that Alvin Kamara is going to succeed no matter what is going on around him. He is just going to be a good football player. But there's nothing. And they put up 13 points. They drafted Tyler Shuck, which was a bonehead move. Like, I just, that game, that's just two teams that I look at and I just think, like, why do I even have this in a multi-view? I would rather be watching 3 games right now because it was disgusting football. Like, it was just so ugly to watch.
So just to hit on that, I think the Saints made a horrible. I have no idea what they were doing. They made a horrible move drafting Tyler Show, and then they have Spencer. Who's their starting quarterback? Is it Spencer Rattler or Tyler?
Yeah. Spencer Rattler.
I didn't even watch that game. Honestly, I'm not even gonna lie to you. I watched the highlights, but I think they made a horrible move this round. Which, for what it's worth, man, when you're a quarterback needy team and there was talks of Derek Carr retiring, you gotta try to go for a decent quarterback. When your room is not all there. There was talks that they wanted to go for Jackson Dart or Shador. I don't know why they didn't. Are they just straight up – because they don't have a bad team either. They have Shaheed. They have Olav. They have you just said his name. What is it? Kamara. You know what I mean? They have a decent weapons, but they're just not going to get the guy to get him the ball. Now, on the other hand, Kyler, I've been on the Kyler. I've been defending this guy. But, yeah, I feel like it just gets – uglier and uglier, man. And he's got James Conner too. With James Conner, personally, I think the guy can run the ball. I think he'll get some yards. You know, Marvin Harrison, obviously, I think last year was a slow year. It wasn't the best rookie season out of, let's say, him, Odunze, and Neighbors. I think he competed. He did I don't even want to say the worst, you know what I mean? But I guess he didn't excel as much as the other two. And yeah, I don't know, man. Yeah, those are just two teams that just have so many holes to fix that it just doesn't even matter.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can definitely say that Harrison was better than Odunze and then, like, worse than Neighbors. But the thing is with that, and the reason why I'm not confident in saying that is because the situation that Rome Odunze was in does not cater to him being able to really have a crazy rookie year. So the fact that they both went into kind of tough situations, two teams that arguably maybe shouldn't have even drafted wide receivers, in my opinion, because they have a lot of gaps. They picked up Joe Thuney, and they thought that was good enough in Chicago for them this year to kind of have a line, and didn't really invest further than that. Caleb Williams is not the guy. Like, just bar none, absolutely nothing I see from Caleb Williams. We'll talk about that game. I actually want to do a full talk on that game because I think that game showed me a lot of things. But before we do that, Panthers, Jags, look, I live in Jacksonville. Down here, everybody cares about college football. Everyone's excited. And you know what? It's good for business. I work at a bar. When the Jags do well, more people show up to watch Jags games, right? But they played the Panthers. Like, they played the Panthers, man. Like, there's nothing. Look, ETN now, especially as a fantasy player with Tank Bigsby being gone, ETN's a good player. ETN's a very good player. I think ETN is above average running back, right? I think that Trevor Lawrence, and this is another controversial take, I think that Trevor Lawrence is a well above average quarterback. Here's the problem, though. The problem is that it doesn't matter because he doesn't have an offensive line at all. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Trevor Lawrence could be the best quarterback in the NFL. He could be you could put prime Tom Brady in that team. I don't think they're a playoff team, man. They can't protect Trevor Lawrence. The guy has no time to throw. He's got weapons. He's got options. Getting rid of Tank Bigsby, I don't think was a good option for them because he's only 24 years old. The guy's young. Like, we don't even know what he's going to be yet, right? Like, he's not even in his prime.
I think Trevor Lawrence is a mid quarterback. I think being the number one pick and coming from Clemson, national championships, I don't think he lived up to the hype. Mm-hmm. And I think he's always had weapons. He had Evan Ingram. He had Christian Kirk. He had Zay Jones. He had, like you were saying, Travis Etienne. You know, they got there in with him. And Travis Etienne had he had a rocky year last year. You know what I mean? Is he on the upside? Possibly. I would hope so. There was talks about them cutting him this year and keeping Tank. So that honestly took me for left field is that they got rid of him. And they're going to – because I want to say this is Etienne's contract year. You know, so what are they going to do with that? I think the only reason they make playoffs is because the AFC South is just such a terrible division.
Dog water.
You know what I mean? Yeah,
Absolutely
you got
terrible.
them in the CJ Stroud came in his first year, took the division. You know what I mean? So that's really what it is. And yeah, the Panthers though, man, I am personally, I want them to do well. I like Chuba Hubbard. I like him. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I really do. I think he's a great guy. And Xavier Legette, they drafted him last year. He had a rocky year. I think hopefully he does better this year. But I'm big on T-Mac, man. Tedderall McMillan. I think that guy, you feed him the ball, he can make some plays, bro. And I am excited to see that. And yeah, Bryce, I don't know how I feel about Bryce. I really don't. You know, I'm like,
he's a tough one because he had a good stretch at the end of last year. But the thing is, man, is that team as a complete unit, I think, has talent. But that's the thing I was saying about the Jaguars. Like, as a team, they have some talent. But the problem is that they're not a good football team. They're good. They're good football players. They're not a good team. The Panthers are just not a good team. They have not been and the biggest problem with Carolina is not the talent. They have the most incompetent franchise, other than the Browns, which is inarguable at this point. They have the most incompetent franchise that you could possibly have. I mean, they're just doing. It seems like they're doing everything. It's like Major League. Like the owner is trying to fight to get them out of Carolina or something. Like I don't understand what's going on with that. Like that team is just. Like Bryce Young, like I was even saying at that time, like in what way is he more attractive pick than CJ Stroud? Like I've been watching football my whole life. I'm not a GM, but honestly at this point I feel like with a lot of the picks that I wanted to make and the way that I see the game, maybe I could be because I could definitely do a better job in Carolina because look, man, there's nothing attractive about Bryce Young. Like Bryce Young, the thing about Alabama quarterbacks is that they're during the Saban era especially is they're going to be surrounded with the best players in college football, and his numbers were not really that good considering the fact that he was on inarguably the most talented team in the entire nation, right? So I don't think the Panthers are going to be an anything team this year, but again, with this one, I know I say it a lot. I'm probably going to say it a few more times throughout this. Jaguars are going to be one of those 4-week teams, man. I'm going to need to see them play a couple teams that are good. Their schedule's not going to be the easiest this year, but their division is pretty terrible, so they can do it. The problem is, again, that the AFC wild card is just so competitive. There's so many teams in the AFC that could be in the playoffs this year.
Well, it doesn't even come down to the wild card. Is that their division is so garbage? They could take their division like the Bucks did a few years ago, as an 8-8 team or now I guess because there's 17. Games as an 8-9 team, you could take your division and still make the playoffs. You know what I mean? It's definitely wild.
Yeah, I mean, but from what I saw, now again, it's week 1, right? And the Dolphins look terrible, but I still think I would still take the Colts over the Jags right now, which is because at least the Colts have offensive line play that looked competent, whereas the Jaguars, I haven't seen a single game from them, including this game in the last few years, which is a miracle. They put up 26 points. I haven't seen one complete game where their offensive line even looks semi-competent. Right? At least with the Colts, their offensive line actually had a good game. I haven't seen the Jaguars' offensive line have a game as good as the Colts' offensive line had in the last 3 years.
I'm a huge Trevor Lawrence hater, man.
I get that.
I wouldn't say hater. I just think he has not lived up to the hype, man. And it's funny because a few years ago, I know you saw that picture. It was circulating around that he had the same stats as Daniel Jones. And it's like, what excuses they make excuses for him. Oh, Urban Meyer was his coach at first and this, that, the other. It's like, I just feel like when you get drafted, yeah, I get it. That's why you got the number 1 pick. But you had some weapons, man. You had some stuff, and you just were not living up to the hype. But hey,
no two ways about it. Yeah, I mean, and again, Jacksonville, and I talk to the Jags fans all the time around here. Jacksonville, the problem that the Jacksonville Jaguars have is that they're not an attractive destination. They're not going to get big free agent signings. They're not going to get guys who are going to want to be traded. I mean, you even have a guy like Gabe Davis who had a decent season and then he goes to somewhere else. Like, nobody's going to stay in Jacksonville. Look at the team they had in the AFC Championship game that was one Miles Jack missed call for the Patriots, big shocker, away from being in the Super Bowl against my Eagles, right? Like, that whole team got offloaded. They were all gone. Like, no one's staying in Jacksonville. So anytime they have a chance to really kind of get some leeway going, which I'm hoping that the new GM and the new and Liam Cohen as a Duval, right? I hope that these guys can, maybe be, an attractive enough system to kind of keep some players there so we can see what happens when the team sticks together a little bit. Maybe they can get something going, because Trevor Lawrence, I still believe, has the potential to do well. I don't think that he's ever going to be a Super Bowl level quarterback regardless of the circumstance. Because look, you only get so many excuses for being on a bad team. You only get so many excuses, because I've seen a lot of guys come into bad teams. Eli Manning, the New York Giants team that he inherited was not very good, and he made an immediate difference. The guy gets a lot of hate. That guy should have been a first ballot Hall of Fame quarterback, because God damn it, when it came down to it, he made plays. He made plays. That's it. Like, he was average in the regular season, but as soon as the lights got bright, that fucking goofy looking motherfucker sat there with his mouth open and made shit happen. That guy, he's a good player. And so when I grow up and I see guys like that who grind out Super Bowls in a very tough NFL with great quarterbacks everywhere and outplaying them, I don't really have much of a runway for a guy like Trevor Lawrence. But the thing is that the Jags it's going to be very hard to find anyone better. That's the problem. They're in a position where you could get rid of him, but who are you going to get?
Yeah, they already committed to him. He already got that extension.
Exactly. You know what I mean?
I don't think any of these guys are worth. I haven't seen anything. So I haven't seen anything from Dak, Trevor, Herbert, Purdy. I haven't seen anything. I've seen like a little bit, like you see some spurts, but nothing that warrants like $50 million a year, man. $55 million a year. Some of these guys are getting, it's like what is going on? You know what I mean? It's crazy, but
it's just the market. It's just the way the market's going. And the problem is that your quarterback eats up like 25% of your salary now if you have a guy who's even average. So that's a problem to me. Buccaneers, Falcons.
You know what? That's what I really want to talk about, because you mentioned Baker before, and I am a big Baker fan. Honestly, I really wish we got him a few years ago. I like that game. I like Levante David on the defense. I like Vita Vea on the defense. I like what's the safety's name, man? He didn't make the top 100.
Jamel Dean.
No.
Antoine Winfield.
Winfield, man. Yeah. I like him a lot. You know what I mean? I think
they have Hassan Reddick too now.
I didn't even know that. Wow. All right.
Yeah.
Former Eagle. Look at that.
I
do like their defense, the Bucks. I do think also their division is also, both these South divisions are just horrible. You know what I mean? So
always have been,
that. But Baker is a good guy, man. I like Rashad White. I like Bucky. I like, you mentioned before, Mike Evans, man. He's gonna get you those yards. Chris Godwin is hurt, but when he comes back, Chris Godwin is Chris Godwin.
How about Emeka Egbuka?
I'm about to say, they drafted Egbuka. The guy, he made plays, man.
Baller.
And even then, who the hell? Their tight end, Cade Otton. I like him too, man.
Mm-hmm.
I think all around, I think the Bucks look good. Now, if we're gonna go over to the Falcons, I think Michael Penix looked good, man. I like what I saw.
What I say about Michael Penix is he's my second favorite Atlanta Falcons black quarterback who's left-handed, whose last name is one letter away from being something about Dick. That guy is good. He's a good player. He came out of Washington, and that's the thing, man. He came out of Washington. I had no idea what he was going to do, right? Like, that was exciting for me because, all right, Kirk Cousins, it just didn't work out, whatever. Dude, he's good. He's solid. He's what Tua Tagovailoa could be if Tua Tagovailoa's brains weren't scrambled eggs at this point. Like, the guy's a left-handed quarterback, and if you see his mechanics, he can throw well. He's an accurate passer. He makes smart decisions. He plays well for a young guy, and he's on a team that has some talent around him, but he doesn't have every advantage in the world, right? That team could win that division, and I would not be surprised. Like, they have in that defense, I got to be honest, holding the Buccaneers to 23 points and holding Baker Mayfield to only 167 yards when they looked as good as they did with as many weapons as they have. What more can you ask for?
They should have won that game. Mm-hmm. I like that Falcons team, man. I like Bijan. I like freaking Algier. I like Drake London. I like Kyle Pitts. Actually looked how we think Kyle Pitts should be. You know what I mean?
I hate Kyle Pitts, man. Like, he has every fucking advantage in the world, and for some reason just can't get it going. Which, look, the NFL is that hard. There's no two ways about it. Kyle Pitts has so much talent. He has so much size. He's a short-handed receiver, but then he starts dropping balls. But then he starts, it's just, he's not great blocking. Like, did
he look good in week one? I think he looked pretty decent, man.
He did all right. Yeah, no, he did. He did all right. He didn't do too bad, but I mean, at the same time, their leading receiver was Bijan Robinson, right? Which is interesting. I did not think Bijan Robinson was going to have 100 yards receiving, but he's that good, right? He's him. I think that when you look at this team as a whole, and I evaluate this team, and I look at what I see, there's promise.
I'm a Drake. That team is young, and you know what? They should have won that game. Which my boy, young, dude, one of the most accurate kickers. That's insane that he even missed that. You know what I mean? Like Younghoe Koo is a solid kicker, and they should have won that game. Honestly, I know he's beating himself up about that. That is like not. I never saw that coming. I legit thought that game was over. But hey, any given Sunday, baby.
Yeah, man. I mean, look. What I have to say about the offense is they put them, and all you can ask for is that they put them in the position to win. Yep. That's it. That's how I evaluate offenses. It's not about wins or losses. It's not about counting stats. On impact drives, did they get themselves into scoring position? And did they give themselves an opportunity to win that game? Yes. And week one, we never know what's going to happen. That's just week one is just one of them things. But look, Baker Mayfield only threw for 167 yards, but he had 3 touchdowns, right? And now with Egbuka, with Godwin, with Evans, not even mentioning Bucky Irving, not even mentioning Rashad White, right? Is that the backup?
Rashad White, I think, is the starter. Bucky Irving might be the backup. They've been switching up with the counts.
And Sterling Shepard. I didn't even think about him. Sterling Shepard also is not a bad 4th option for that team in any way. Like, there's some things that are going to happen this year in Tampa Bay where I'm like, when we play them week 4, I'm not excited to play that football team, man. They're a good team. And, again, being in the division that they're in, man, I just don't see anybody else really giving them a run for their money in that division at all yet. I mean, I could be corrected later on in the season, but for right now, I think that the Buccaneers are in a really good spot. I really do, and obviously their coach is good as well. I think that Tampa Bay. I think that this is again 2 teams that are gonna have a pretty good year.
Yeah, bro. I think the Bucs. Like I know we mentioned before, they gave you guys a run for. I think they're the only team in the NFC that has really, because the Lions, as much as they were banged up last year, probably one of the better teams, but you guys killed them. Yeah, I think legit the Bucs might be the only team that has given you guys a run for your money, honestly. Like now that I think about it, that's the only team that beat you guys, right?
They beat us, the Falcons beat us, and then the Commanders beat us late in the season when Jalen Hurts went down in the first quarter with a concussion.
Okay, yeah. I was going to say, that's wow.
Todd Bowles, and look, we were banged up for that game, but with the amount of talent we have, the amount of depth we have, I don't see that as an excuse. Todd Bowles has Jalen Hurts figured out, man. There's just something about playing against the Buccaneers that Jalen Hurts never really looks good in that team, man. Jalen Hurts never looks good against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but that's another credit that I can give to Michael Penix is that he had a really solid game against a defense that is hard to beat. And yeah, I think it's the Buccaneers and the Falcons are going to be late in the season trying to fight for that one spot there in the NFC South. Bengals Browns. Now this is an argument we're going to have. I know this is an argument. I wanted to talk about this. Although this game was terrible, right? Look, to say the least. Look, the reason that I don't have Joe Burrow ahead of Jalen, again, ahead of Josh Allen, ahead of Patrick Mahomes, ahead of Lamar Jackson, ahead of a lot of these guys, again, ahead of Baker Mayfield right now. Talent-wise, stats-wise, performance-wise, he's a baller. I love Joe Burrow. I'm a Joe Burrow fan. The problem with Joe Burrow is in the first 6 weeks of every single season that he has played, he starts off so rough. Look, this is a game that you need to come out if you're the Cincinnati Bengals and you need to make a statement. You need to come out and you need to score 40 points against this team. You need to build some confidence. You need to say, hey, last year was last year. Our defense looked rough. We have some talent. We have some young guys. We have probably the best receiving core in the NFL. We have a guy who at any given week could be the quarterback one of that week and could could actually be the best quarterback in the NFL. And that's a hard point to argue, except for the fact that the guy doesn't come out strong ever. They actually had him playing in the third and fourth week of the preseason, like I think every team should, and he went out against a Browns defense who was good, right? The problem is Myles Garrett is one of the best defensive linemen to ever play football. That guy absolutely torched an offensive line that had 3 people at some points trying to block him. I mean, he had to go through the first line, had to break through a running back, and was just destroying Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow is either going to be wearing a gold jacket or he's going to be carted off the field in a fucking coffin by the time he's 28 years old. Look, they cannot protect that guy. They keep adding talent to that offensive line for whatever reason. They cannot figure out how to protect Joe Burrow. Don't get me wrong, but there is no excuse to have 7 yards in the entire second half. There's just no excuse. You have 7 yards from scrimmage in 2 quarters of football with that offense. I'm sorry. I don't care if you're playing against the 85 Bears. There is no excuse. They have so much talent. And for whatever reason, we keep making excuses for Cincinnati. We keep making excuses for Baltimore. There's no excuse. If he's that guy, he's that good. You go out and score more than 17 points. You have more than 7 yards from scrimmage. The Browns are just the Browns, so they lost that game, right? But to me, that's pathetic. I know it's a divisional rivalry. I know it's different, but it's pathetic. It's so bad.
They scored like 9 points.
17-16 was the final score. And the Browns missed an extra point. They missed a 30-yard field goal, right? Like their kicker, that they should have scored 20 points that game. Like they missed out on easily 4 points, possibly even 6 points, right? Like, I don't know, man. Like there's nothing that I'm seeing from this Bengals team that makes me think this year is going to be any different, and they'd be lucky to make the playoffs. Look, the Steelers look pretty decent week 1 against a Jets defense that, in my opinion, front to back is better than the Browns, although the Browns have a better defensive line, inarguably, just because of, they could have Myles Garrett and 3 guys that they pull out of the stand and still have the better defensive line. I mean, it's just how it is, right? But, look, there's nothing about this team that makes me think this year is going to be any different. And that's the reason why we brought up that debate when we were talking quarterbacks and I had Burrow below Hurts on the elite category, is because when you look at his last few seasons and you look in the first 4 weeks of the year, the guy will have a game where he throws for 160 yards, 1 touchdown, and 3 interceptions. Dude, there's no excuse. That team is too good. That offense is too good. Losing Joe Mixon doesn't matter to a degree, but Chase Brown can fill that hole, because here's the thing. Chase Brown will have less stats, but Chase Brown will be on the field for all 17 games. Joe Mixon will never do that, right? So I just don't think that this team is gonna be better in any way than the Ravens this year. I really don't think. I think the Steelers are going to destroy the Bengals if they don't figure out what's going on with their offensive line. Because that offensive line, with the defenses that are in the AFC North right now, cannot be mediocre. They have to be good. They have to be a top 10 offensive line, or that team has no chance, because their defense did not get good enough to cover up the problems that they have offensively. It's just the way that until I'm proven otherwise, I will not change my opinion on that.
So I had my coworker, he told me in the offseason when they picked up Aaron Rodgers, he said the Steelers are going to be a playoff caliber team. They're probably going to make it deep, and I think he's right. Mm-hmm. When you look at the Bengals, again, yeah, I like I like Chase Brown. I even like Gesicki. The Browns, they stink, man. Like, I don't know why they drafted Dylan Gabriel and Shador, honestly. Like, I have no idea what the hell. That's just a testament to the Browns organization. I don't like anything on the Browns. I like Myles Garrett. I like Njoku. I really like Njoku a lot. Truly do. I think their new back, Samson. You heard of him?
Their running back?
Yeah, Samson. He had a pretty, I picked him up in my free. Yeah, I picked him up on my fantasy team. He got me like 23 points. You know what I mean? I don't know if that was but like, it looks like he's promising. Nick Chubb is gone last year. Who was it? What was it? Lewis? Was it Lewis? Ford. Jerome Ford.
Jerome Ford. Yeah,
Jerome Ford. Yeah, he had a pretty good season. But there's nothing about the Browns that I like, man. Like, it's like you were saying before about the Giants and Dart. And I'm a Shador fan. Put Shador in there. Or put Dylan Gabriel in there. You know what I mean? Put one of them in there. You got Joe Flacco. I think Joe Flacco is going to end up being a Hall of Fame. obviously. But I just think he's at the end right now. Which, what are you playing towards? You know what I mean? Like, what do you really think you're gonna compete? Like, I don't know.
I don't think it's a Joe Flacco problem. I mean, Flacco's a good quarterback in my opinion. I just think that the Browns are such a wishy-washy team. I think Stefanski is a very volatile coach. There's a lot of times where they play conservative when they shouldn't. They kind of don't know how to. They don't capitalize off of momentum. They're not making the right moves. I am not a Shedeur Sanders fan. I don't think. Look, the thing about Shedeur Sanders is this: he played in a weak conference and really didn't have an impressive career with a Heisman wide receiver. He went 9-8. And barely and almost won a mediocre bowl game, has never really played with the super bright lights, in my opinion, because anytime that he had played those kind of games, they usually got blown out or lost. There's not a lot of things I love about him, but I'm okay to be proven wrong on that because I like when a guy is getting a lot of shit and has the odds stacked against him and goes out and does something. I would like to see it. But the thing is that if he can't even beat Dylan Gabriel on the depth chart, who also didn't really show me anything that I love to see, I gotta be honest, like that Browns organization, the Browns are gonna Brown, man. That's the way that I feel about it. They're just gonna be the Cleveland Browns. Myles Garrett is a Bugatti in a trailer park, and it's an unfortunate situation.
I'm surprised he signed. I'm surprised he stayed. I really am. Truly, truly, truly. But hey,
yeah.
good for him.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think that him making a statement that he wants to play for a winner and then re-signing for a team that has done everything they can to make sure that doesn't happen is interesting. The thing is, he's a part owner in the Cavaliers. He has a home in Cleveland, right? When you play for the small market teams, they adore you. Everybody's wearing 95 jerseys, man. He is one of the best players to ever play. I really, really wish that he would have signed with a contender because I believe that he could have been a Philadelphia Eagle. I believe that he could have been a Green Bay Packer. I believe that he could have been a Tampa Bay Buccaneer. I believe he could have been a Chief. I also believe that he could have been a Bill. And they could have signed Joey Bosa and Myles Garrett. And, I mean, imagine Jalen Carter with Myles Garrett. Imagine the Green Bay Packers. Imagine him with Kenny Clark and those other players up front, right? Like those teams could have been made so much better, and instead we're going to watch another season of mediocre Browns football with a guy who is an absolute animal on the defensive front. And it's a shame because I love watching that guy play football, but it's the same thing with guys like Aaron Donald, right? Aaron Donald got lucky and they caught lightning in a bottle for a season, but that team was never an anything team most of his career. J.J. Watt, right? Why do all these guys stay on these teams when they could easily sign for any team in the NFL they want? Because they get paid ridiculous amounts of money because they're the only player on that team selling jerseys. That's the way I feel about it.
Loyalty. Yep.
So, next we have 49ers Seahawks. 49ers Seahawks was a weird. It was just that game was like.
Dude, Kittle got hurt. Freaking what? CMC was hurt. He didn't even. That team. Ayuk is out. I don't know.
This is games like this are the reason that I believe that Brock Purdy is so elite because of the fact that he's still gonna perform. His offense cannot stay healthy, and the guy will still throw for 3,000 yards and 30 touchdowns to whoever's out there. He grinds out. I mean, they grinded out a win. The Seahawks didn't look good. The Seahawks didn't look good outside of Smith and Jigba. Smith and Jigba's a good player.
I have Kenneth Walker on my fantasy, and I was pissed. He got me like 3 points, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm a big Kenneth Walker guy. You know what I mean? I think the guy can play. Yeah, Smith and Jigba. Who's their starting receiver now? Because they lost Lockett and DK. Who?
It's I believe it is Smith and Jigba, and then they have see that's another problem. They signed Cooper Kupp. They signed Cooper Kupp, and look, Cooper Kupp. Look. You can't replace DK Metcalf because him and A.J. Brown are really the only two wide receivers in the NFL that kind of are able to have that play style because of their size and their hands and all the things that they have. But you can't replace him. Smith and Jigba's not the guy, but also you don't have Lockett anymore, who was, such a solid, he was that guy that you could always depend on. Cooper Kupp is just done, man. He's just done. He's done. And he's, again, like there's a lot of things that he did that I really liked. There's a lot of things that he continues to do that I like. He runs good routes. He has sure hands, but Sam Darnold, I don't really know. The Seahawks I think are going to be a team that's a lot worse than people have hopes for this year because there's just what do they have really going for them? What do they really have going for them? This game was just ugly. It was gritty. It was just like the 49ers just outcoached the Seahawks is just what it is.
your tight end? Is it Noah Fant? Like I have,
Yeah,
I have,
Fant.
yeah. Like I don't know anything about the Seahawks besides those two guys, I guess. But yeah, I don't know.
Or no, they have Elijah Arroyo. They have AJ Barner.
Yeah, see, like
Charbonnet again is very volatile. Kenneth Walker is one of those guys that I stay away from fantasy because, again, he's a guy, he just has those games where he doesn't do anything. He has so much talent. He has so much potential. Their offensive line is really not that bad, and they just don't play well. There's just games they come out, and it's just, you can tell from the first two drives that they're going to have a chance to score any points at all. It's just, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's a coaching thing and they don't adjust well because they have some talent, but I don't know, man. I'm just really low on the Seahawks, and this game, I really don't feel like I learned much from this game. I'm ready. I'm willing to move on to the next one, but it's up to you if you have anything else you want to add.
Yeah, I'm honestly like those are one of the games that stink. I'm cool past that. Like,
Titans Broncos. The Titans to me are the weirdest team in the NFL.
So I know I mentioned this before. I didn't like anything I saw from Bo Nix this game. I think he had two picks, was it? Honestly, should have lost that game. Let me start off. All right, I didn't like the way Bo Nix. I think Bo Nix had a great season last year. Now I'm gonna go to Cam Ward. I think Cam Ward played pretty fucking deep for the Titans, being the Titans, which arguably are like a Browns level team. I think he played pretty well. I think he made some decisions. I think it sucks to say because this is one of my, I'm not gonna say all-time favorite receivers, but he's up there. I like Calvin Ridley, and fuck did he drop like 2-3 big passes, man, that would have won the game. You know, and he's typically one of those go-to guys. Yeah, I didn't really like this game either. I really didn't. You know what I mean? But I did like the potential I saw in Cam Ward.
Cam Ward showed a level of maturity on that last drive that I really think he's going to be the guy, not in Tennessee though, which is weird to say about a guy who just got drafted. He's probably going to be there 3-4 years, whatever. Look, Pittsburgh Steelers. You know what I'm saying? Like a team like that down the stretch after his contract's up, you know, where the quarterback's going to be in 4 years, nobody knows, right? So this is obviously like just a crazy thought. Pittsburgh Steelers, Dallas Cowboys, Detroit Lions. You have a lot of teams, even the Cleveland Browns, who knows, right? You have a lot of teams, the Los Angeles Rams. You have a lot of teams who have talent, who have guys that are going to be on their way out. And you see a guy like Cam Ward, look, down the stretch, dude, that guy, they were down. All I saw, he was eager to get out in the field. He showed maturity. He made some tough throws. Put them right in the hand. I mean, right in their hands, dude. And and Calvin Ridley dropped the ball, right? And like he did his part that game to try and win that game. The problem is their O-line was not good, terrible, right? And yet having the guy grabbing him. He's sideways throwing balls right in dude's hands 30 yards down the field. He's got talent. He's got the mindset. I think he's a good player. I really am excited to watch him grow this year as a player. And again, I think he's in a good situation because there's no pressure to succeed there. No one expects anything. They don't even know what to expect. I don't know what to expect. Again, we've watched football our whole lives. This is one of those teams. I have no idea what's going to happen with this team, but I know one thing is for sure, that if Calvin Ridley catches that football, this is a game that we might be talking about how the Broncos let this one get away, right? Cam Ward is the story of this game to me. Bo Nix didn't do anything special. His defense just played a good game. I mean, his defense bailed him out, which, you know what? Sometimes when you have teams that win championships, like last year with the Eagles, we won the championship, right? You have some games where your defense just makes plays when you need to and you grind out an ugly win, right? And that's something that maybe down the line we're going to be talking about the Broncos, but I think that they are going to be I think they're probably going to be second place in their division overall. I still think they looked better than the Chiefs.
Denver?
Mm-hmm. I think they looked better than the Chiefs did, yeah.
I think Bo Nix arguably had the second best. I think Jaden Daniels had the best quarterback season, and then Bo Nix had the second best. Honestly, last year and this year, I week one, I didn't like anything I saw from Bo Nix. I really did not, and I have him on my fantasy too, man. But yeah, Cam Ward, dude. Like honestly, I think that guy's a dog. I think he's gonna be maybe the future, dude. Maybe they build around him. Tony Pollard isn't. He had a good season. I mean, he had a good week also. You know what I mean? I guess we're just gonna have to wait and see, dude. But I really, and they were like, oh, we should tank for Cam Ward. I wouldn't have been mad if we got him. You know what I mean? And we had the opportunity to get him. Obviously, I think we would have. But I hate that he didn't get as much recognition or publicity as he should have gotten as a number 1 pick this year. Like I feel like there was no stories on him, man.
It was all negative. It was all negative.
It was all Genty, Shador, who is it, and a bunch of other Jackson Dart and all these other guys, and I'm like, dude, Cam is he's gonna be one of the guys that's gonna prove us why he's a number 1.
Yeah, and look, man, like I said, it was anything I heard about the dude was all negative. Look, here's the thing about Cam Ward. He didn't really play the second half of the bowl game. First half he balled out. He played on a Miami team that didn't have the level of talent around him that a lot of these other quarterbacks did, and he performed so well. I mean, the guy is a baller. He's got the right mindset. Like, you have Shador's like, hey, man, let's make a TikTok dance. And then I see him saying, nah, man, I just play football. Stuff like that. Like, those things do matter, right? And he's a guy, he just seems very smart. Like, he made some different changes in audibles. He started to see the things that the defense was doing and would call them out. And you could see that he's actively, like, you can see him making hand signals and doing, like, all this other shit, right? Those are things that for a rookie in his first game, I'm impressed that they gave him the ability to do that, but I'm impressed that he's also taking that and saying, this is my team. I'm going to run it how I want to run it. And I think over the next few years, the Titans for the first time, have a quarterback I'm excited about. And yeah, I really think that it would have been cool to see Cam Ward with Malik Nabers. I mean, look, the way I feel about football is whenever the NFC East is good, it's always the best for football because it's the best division in football. And I just think that it sucks that he's in Tennessee. But again, Tony Pollard, why did Dallas even let him go 2 years ago? I just don't understand these moves. But you know what? If they pick him up, they take him. Tony Pollard has the ability to change games. If he has a good game, he can run for 120 yards in a game and get 2 touchdowns. I mean, he can just do things like that. So the Titans are a wild card. I just don't know what's going to happen. They play in that weak division. You never know. They could come out. They could come out of that division. I mean, easily could come out of that division over the Colts, over the Jags, right? Like, so, it's another one of those teams. It's like, what are they going to do? Who knows, right? So, yeah, that team, again, I'm a believer. Bo Nix kind of looking ugly there for sure. There's nothing that the Broncos did that really inspired confidence.
Courtland
Sutton's always been so good, though. I mean, that guy's had one of the worst quarterback situations of any star wide receiver, and he's just so good. I love watching Courtland Sutton play football. Lions Packers. Man, that Packers defense looks really good. Packers defense looks really good.
I didn't like that game either, man. I didn't like that with all those weapons they couldn't score, man. You got Amon-Ra, you got Jameson, you got the 2 best running backs, 1-2 combo, 100%. I think that's the truth. Montgomery and Gibbs. Sammy Laporta. I have no idea what the fuck happened. I really don't.
Yeah, I think the Packers defense, I mean, shit, we're watching the game right now. The Packers defense started off against the Lions and started off against Lions Commanders. 2 high-powered offenses with a lot of weapons. They are dangerous. That team looks lethal right now. And when you add a Micah Parsons onto a team that already looks good defensively, every time I'm looking over at the screen, I see Micah Parsons getting back at the quarterback and shit. I mean, the guy just makes a difference. That team, although I don't love their offense, like, they have such a weird receiving core because they put up numbers, but they're guys that I'm still kind of like Jayden Reed, Romeo Doubs, like, really? Like, they put up numbers, though. But, I mean, they're not guys that, like, for my eye test, there's nothing that I see and I look at them and I think, like, wow. There's no, like, wow factor with their receiving core. But they put up points. They didn't allow pretty much anything, and I think that the Lions are going to feel the absence of Ben Johnson a lot more than I think people are going to realize, because they were saying, like, with the talent we have, we feel like we can let him go, and we're going to be this team. And I love Dan Campbell, love him. If you don't like Dan Campbell, you don't like football, right? You got to love the guy. But it's week 1. Give them a few more weeks to get going. They have a lot of talent, but I mean, that Packers defense again, we're watching the first game of week 2. The Packers defense just looks so good. They just look so good. I feel like they're going to be a problem this year. I still don't think that they win that division over the Lions overall, though. But we'll see.
I think last year, I know you touched on Jordan Love. I think last year they had Romeo Doubs that basically was sitting out because he didn't feel like he was involved. Christian Watson got hurt. And then they had Aaron Jones.
And you know what? This year it looks like they have everybody healthy. Holston, rookie wide receiver. I think it promising. Oh, Tucker Kraft, also tight end. I think they have a promising future. I know you're not a big. You mentioned you weren't big love, but I think they could probably take that division.
I think they can too. I mean, I think it definitely can. And the thing is though, is that again, it's not the praise that I would give to Jordan Love. I think what it really is too is that you have Josh Jacobs, and I think that when you have a defense that's going to keep your offense on the field 60% of the time in football games, and you have a coach in Matt LaFleur who's willing to take some chances and instill some confidence to keep that offense out there, you're going to have a defense that is playing with an offensive side that's good enough to stay on the field and chain together a decent drive. And then you also have a defense that's going to keep the other team's offense off the field from scoring points. Like, this Packers team could be, by week 4, we could be talking about Super Bowl level stuff with this team, and I would not be surprised. But it just right now their defensive unit looks unstoppable, but that's not sustainable, right? Having a defense that's holding teams to, less than 14 points is not going to be something you're going to do for a full year unless they do and they're the greatest defense of all time, which, whatever. But there's promise. I mean, there's definitely promise here, and so far this Packers team has shown me quite a bit.
Look, man, you mentioned that Micah signing, but a big one that was last year that they got the Giants, of course. Everybody gets our players, become stars more than they already are. Xavier McKinney, dude, led the league. Probably going to go at that same level. So, yeah, that defense is going to be trouble.
Texans, Rams, CJ Stroud looked rough in this one, but Matthew Stafford, I think the back injury is pretty apparent here. I mean, he just doesn't look like the same player. He's also aging, but that back injury was pretty severe. This was an ugly game. It was a defensive battle. Didn't really learn much about these teams at all. The NFC West looks rough this year.
Yeah, I think this is one of those games. There's not much to talk about besides we already know Puka is Puka. He's obviously going to be able to do what he does. Kyron Williams, he's gonna be the guy. If he's gonna do what he can do, also, you know what I mean. Devontae Adams, they added him. I don't think I saw too much from him either. I don't. So again, Matt Stafford, like you were saying before, he's on his way out. It is what it is. He's got probably 1-2 more years left. You know what I mean? I think he just restructured his contract. He's heading out. It's just the truth. Mm-hmm. And yeah, CJ Stroud. I think Tank Dell's still out. Nico Collins.
Joe Mixon.
Have Dalton. Yeah. Dalton Schultz. I think they still have Schultz as their tight end.
I think so. Let me fact check that, but I think they do.
Ooh, I don't know. Fact check that, Dan.
Yeah, they got Schultz. They got Schultz because that's the thing. I didn't know. I know they had him, but I saw Cade Stover playing quite a bit, so I didn't know if he was hurt or not. I guess they're just doing different sets where they kind of have those two guys coming in and out. But Dalton Schultz, solid receiver. I'm surprised that Dallas let him go because he's a solid. But they got a guy in Ferguson who's pretty good. So yeah.
Yeah, this is one of these games. Is like you said, there's not really much to talk about. Like, we know these players are proven. I guess we'll come back to them week 2.
Ravens, Bills.
Yeah, that's the fucking game, dude. Where do you want to start?
I want to say that might be the best football game I've ever watched.
I feel like that consistently, those two teams have just shown us from last year to the year before, that was the Bills and the Chiefs. But these two teams, man, they're just going at it, and I think Josh Allen is fucking a dog. Or 100%. I think so is Lamar Jackson. You know what I mean? To be able to come, you just cannot make mistakes. These are two teams where if you make a mistake, it's going to bite you in the ass. And what happened? Derrick Henry, great game. You fucking fumble. It's part of the game. He fumbles, and what did they do? Yeah, what did they do? These are the type of teams you cannot make those mistakes because they will fucking execute. And what did they do? They fucking executed, man. Mm-hmm. Josh Allen, you got James Cook, he scored. You got fucking – dude, I think – the Bills I'm not going to say they're bad receivers, but they're not like big name receivers, man. Keon Coleman, Shakir, I'm a big Dalton Kincaid and Dawson Knox guy. Those two guys can fucking those are just some big old school tight end guys, man. Like that just I like teams that do that, like how I used to do with Gronk and Hernandez, man. Like do that whole 2 tight end. Kind of, you know what? The fucking Ravens are doing the same thing with Likely and Andrews, dude. You know? It's I think both those teams are very similar. If you look at the depth chart, you got James Cook and Derrick Henry. You got, like I said, Likely and Andrews and Kincaid and Knox. You got Zay Flower. D Hop, dude, that one-handed catch in the end zone and the touchdown. And you know what? A lot of people wrote D Hop off, but hey, the guy's still got some juice in him.
The thing about the DeAndre Hopkins and the reason he keeps getting contracts is because he does not drop passes, except for in the Super Bowl, apparently. But the dude does not drop balls. Dude, he never, his whole career, that dude does not drop balls. He's like Larry Fitz. He's Larry Fitz. He's a Larry Fitz comparison. He's as close as you can get to a Larry Fitz, in my opinion.
Even with the hair, baby.
Even with the hair. You know? Dude, his hands are fucking like this big. The thing about DeAndre Hopkins is like his speed is receiver speed. He's NFL receiver speed. I mean, he's not insanely fast, but he runs the best routes. He's so good at running routes, and he just doesn't drop balls. And so adding him to a roster, look, Zay Flowers might be a top 10 wide receiver in the NFL this year. I mean, I learned Zay Flowers made some plays, dude. It's not like he was just wide open, right? Zay Flowers made some good, tough catches. And people are talking a lot about these defenses like they should be worried. You're not stopping either one of these offenses. I don't care what team it is. If I'm playing, if the Eagles are playing against them, you know, if any team, you're not stopping those offenses. It just doesn't matter. Like there are 2 offenses. And look, that's why I think Josh Allen may be the best quarterback in the NFL, because he has the least amount of talent for a guy who has the level of success. He completed a pass to 9 receivers in that game, right? Like, yeah. He can spread the ball out to everybody. This year, he looks like, I mean, every year it looks like he's starting to eliminate interceptions more and more from his game. He looks less like a gunslinger, more like a dart thrower at this point. And I mean,
I like, he's not afraid of contact. That boy will fucking truck through you, man. I think Josh is all around just a great, Josh and Lamar are 2 guys I really want to see get a ring. 100%.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind that. I just, again, I think this is going to be a conversation. These teams have not lost a step in any way. This is going to be a conversation in January of, are they going to win the big games? Are they going to win the big games? And honestly, this is a preview of probably a divisional or AFC championship round, depending on the seeding. I do not see how the Chiefs are going to beat either one of these teams. I think that I don't see, like, the Chargers look good. I don't see how the Chargers are going to beat these teams because they're good top to bottom. It's not just at quarterback. And like you said, I think that was a great call. These 2 teams look so similar depth chart wise. They really, really do. They are copy paste offenses, except that one quarterback is just way larger than the other, but yet they're still the same player, which the athleticism of Josh Allen, he's the only quarterback that runs out in the open field, and I'm scared about how the defender's going to get hit, right? I'm not scared he's ever going to get hurt. That guy destroys people, and he's so fun to watch. And, the one thing I have to say, though, they try to compare fan bases with, the Eagles are the worst fan base, whatever. We are the most loyal to our team, all right? Let's say that. The Bills fans should be ashamed of themselves dude, you have Josh Allen at quarterback. The coaches actually there was a sideline video I saw. They were trying to say, hey, man, I think we're just going to sit you out. And he said, fuck no, I'm going in there. When they're 15 down with 4 minutes. Dude, you have Josh Allen at quarterback. The game's never over. He threw for 260 yards in the 4th quarter alone. That guy is unbelievable.
I didn't see that one. They wanted to bench Josh Allen?
Yeah, I saw a Twitter video, and like one of the coaches was talking to him, and they were talking about that. And I think in a post-game interview, they addressed it. They were talking about pulling him. He said, fuck no, fuck no, fuck no. And then he goes out there right down the field and scores. They fumble right down the field. And it wasn't like he was just tagging open receivers with checkdowns. This dude was hitting crazy throws 30 yards down the field with the game on the line. And I'm like, that's greatness. That is greatness right there. We watched 2 amazing football teams, and there's a positive and a negative. The positive is that game was incredible. The negative is that we may probably just watch the game of the year week 1. I mean, I don't know how you top that game.
Hey, man, there's a lot of football left, but I think you are right. This is one of those 2 teams will be in the Super Bowl this year. I think the Chiefs I think they're out of it.
Mm-hmm. So I could talk about that game. We could sit here and talk about that game for 3 hours, but let's go on to the Vikings and the Bears. Look, people are saying it was a bad game for 3 quarters, But the thing is I learned a lot. I learned a lot in those 3 quarters. What I learned is that Caleb Williams doesn't have that killer instinct. Because when they were ahead, and they weren't ever looking particularly great, but when they were ahead, I didn't really see him try to go for anything. I didn't really see him try to take any risks. I didn't really see anything impressive. His offensive line did not look that bad in this game. And their defense actually looked very good. But when your defense looks very good and you're kicking a lot of field goals against an offense that has Justin Jefferson and Aaron Jones and TJ Hawkinson, and with a solid offensive line, and by the way, the Minnesota Vikings are an extremely well-coached team. They have a good coaching staff. Yeah, I mean, Kevin O'Connell's a great coach, right? Look, J.J. McCarthy, that look of determination that I see on his face when they're down and he makes a mistake, he throws that pick, right? The dude never seemed to be fazed by that. Like, he is good. He looks good.
I honestly didn't know what to expect because honestly, when he threw that pick, I was like, all right, the game's over. I was like, JJ's not, because they weren't really moving the ball in the first half at all. You know what I mean? Up until the third quarter. But like you were saying, just like, just with that Bills game too, the way they were able to come back, I was definitely, I wouldn't say shocked because like you said, man, you got fucking Justin Jefferson, anything can happen. You got TJ, you got Aaron Jones. But even, they got Adam Thielen back. I think that's slept on, man. That guy, he's a workhorse. You know, he'll do what he do. Not even catching and his speed, but he can block too, man. He's not a selfish guy. He will do what needs to do for the team. And we're also missing that Jordan Addison is not in the lineups yet. Jordan Addison is another
4 weeks
receiver, dude. That's another receiver that when he comes back, is gonna be trouble.
Difference maker. So, I mean, he is that receiving core is what we thought that Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle were going to be. Those guys are still young enough where they're like Justin Jefferson is in his prime. Justin Jefferson is one of the most dynamic wide receivers of the last decade. That guy is unfucking believable how good he is. And look, but it wasn't just JJ McCarthy having Justin Jefferson. Like, he made plays. And I'm an Ohio State fan. Like, I cannot stand Michigan. And the thing is like I didn't really know what we were gonna see because that Michigan team was a national championship team, right? But it wasn't like, you know, we're so used to the teams like what's up, Rocky? We're so used to oh, he's got the Cuban on, dude. I love it. But we're so used to teams in college that win championships being this dominating, overpowering team that's surrounded with first-round pick talent and stuff like that. They were just kind of a grindy team that they just won all their games, right? Like they would just win and they would grind out victories. But dude, McCarthy is a dog. Like, he's got that mentality, and that's the thing that I look for in a quarterback. And again, another reason why I'm so high on the quarterbacks that I'm so high on is because I think it's a mentality thing. I think he's got that mentality to bounce back from mistakes, and he just wants to win football games. And he's got the talent around him to make a splash this year, man. Yeah,
he came back from a pretty big injury, and I do like he came back from that. That was his first game. It was his first NFL game. You know, he came back from that injury. He was down, and you're right. He didn't give up, man. He did. He had a rushing touchdown too, no?
Yeah, he did, and he did, and he knocked the guy off and lunged for it and all that stuff. Like, showed some athleticism. You know, his arm looked good. He looked accurate. He was throwing good tight spirals, good passes. Like, there was a lot of things that I saw from him in that second half. It's like, look, the first half, it's like your first time playing, you know, in the NFL. It's his first game, and you know they said like 500-600 days or something like that. It was crazy, right? So. It's his first meaningful snaps in the NFL. The first half was always going to be slow, right? You got to get the rhythm. You got to adjust to the speed of an NFL game, right? But I think that all things considered for a young guy, like, he did as good a job as you could really expect. And honestly, like, the Vikings, again, are in a division. They're in a division that's tough, but they can win it. I mean, at any given, you know what I'm saying? Like, depending on how the season plays out and how they look, like, they can win that division. Like, who knows, right? You know, with the way the Packers are looking right now, like a Vikings-Packers game or a Vikings-Lions game is going to be a really good game. Like, so, I don't know. I see promise in that team, and I think when Jordan Addison comes back especially, you know, you get that extra weapon who could be a wide receiver one on a few teams. Yeah, I mean, I look at this and I think the Vikings are going to be a good team this year, and I'm excited. I'm really excited to see, you know, I think Cam Ward and I think J.J. McCarthy are the two quarterbacks that are just starting out that I'm really excited to see what they do. And then obviously, you know, Jaden Daniels, I really want to see what his year is going to look like too, because when you have a rookie season that we've never seen before, that's going to be interesting. That's going to be interesting to see how he bounces back from that, especially with the tough schedule. The NFC East has a very tough schedule this year, so there's going to be a lot of good games played in there. We play you play the AFC West and the NFC North, then you play the NFC East, and we all have our own game that we play. I think we play the Buccaneers. I don't know who they play, but that's a tough schedule this year, so it's going to really test them out. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah, I think I do want to touch on the Bears.
Mm-hmm.
I do think the Bears have a solid offense, man. Defensively, I think in the beginning they looked good. I don't know if they just got tired, they gave out. I have no idea. You know what I mean? What happened in that? Because when you got the lead as an NFL, you have to. That's the only way you're gonna win games. You know what I mean? Obviously, I'm a big believer of defense wins games. But I know we touched on it before. Offensively, I like what I see, man. I like Cole Kmet. I like DJ Moore. I like DeAndre Swift. I think they also have weapons. You know what I mean? These aren't scrubs. So Caleb just needs to. And they were using DJ Moore with a lot of like running back Debo type plays. So I did like that too. The guy is versatile and can do everything. So I just, like you were saying before, you just got to feed that guy the ball. If that's your star player, feed him. You know what I mean? So
I think the Bears are a quarterback away. That's how I feel about that team. I feel like they're a quarterback away from being a good team. There's nothing that Caleb Williams has done at any point that's impressed me, man. He just doesn't impress me in any way. Like the mentality that he carries, like, I mean, painting his nails, like people feel the way they feel about that. I don't really give a shit about that. Like, whatever, who fucking cares? It only matters what you do when you play. Look, there's nothing that I'm seeing from him that makes me feel like down a stretch that he's not a replaceable quarterback. And in this league, the way that it is now, you can't have that. You can't have that. You have to have a guy who solidifies himself as the guy, or people are going to start looking elsewhere. The problem is that the Bears don't really have depth at quarterback. Who's their backup quarterback? No one knows, right? So I feel like it's going to be kind of tough for them. It's going to be a tough slog for them, and unless Caleb Williams starts coming out and throwing those 270 plus yard games, he's got the weapons to do it. Adunze's a good receiver. DJ Moore, again, the same thing that I felt. Oddly enough, the comp that I have for DJ Moore is another guy who was on the Bears, Allen Robinson, a guy who was a really talented wide receiver who for some reason just never got targets. Then Allen Robinson went to the Rams and never got targets. Allen Robinson was an elite wide receiver. Guess who else I have a comp for? Alshon Jeffrey, another Bears player. Those guys were really talented wide receivers that for some reason never amounted to anything more than a middle-of-the-road guy. And if they're in the right situation, they're 1,000-yard receivers all day long, right? So I think that DJ Moore and I think that Rome Odunze are good wide receivers. They just have to get that synergy going. They have to get that chemistry going with Caleb Williams and kind of, I need to see some improvements from Caleb, and I need to see drastic improvements and fast, because the guy is just not inspiring any confidence in me in his ability to play a good game all 4 quarters, to close out games when you have a lead, to kind of start taking those risks over the, not just throwing things over the middle of the field, but starting to go for those touch passes on the outside. I'm not seeing that hype in any. Look, he's a first overall pick, man.
I do like Ben Johnson though. I do like that Ben Johnson ad.
Yes,
think that's gonna.
I do
Definitely. I think it's gonna help him out, man. Maybe last year, this year. I like week 1. I think he was a little bit more confident. Maybe he wasn't enough to obviously win the game, but I think I'm not a big Caleb fan, but I think he can do something. I think he just needs a little bit more. So I'm on. I think there's only brightness from here for Caleb.
All right. So with that was the week 1 recap. We actually started. I felt like this was going to happen once we actually sit and talk about it. We flesh out our ideas a little bit more rather than just firing text messages back at each other. I feel like that we were going to agree on more things than we had initially thought, honestly, because when we're two guys that we know ball, right? We watch a lot of football. We watch a lot of football our whole lives. We're very dedicated to our franchises and stuff like that. But week 2. What are some matchups, in terms of week 2? I don't really know how I want to navigate this. We can kind of, if you have the time for it, we can preview every game a little bit and then kind of go after the games that you want, or whatever your time permits here. I don't know how much more time you want to talk for. So,
let's see, week 2. So me, a big one, obviously, just because I'm a Giants fan. I want to see how this Giants and Dallas game goes, man. I think this is going to be a big one for the NFL. Just to obviously, one of these teams is going to go 0-2 after this. You know what I mean? So that's pretty big being in this division. After today's game, if are the Skins winning right now? The Commanders?
They're down 14-3.
Okay,
And
so
Micah Parsons just got
a,
another sack.
Didn't see. I had to come over here because my Chargers. But I think you guys versus Kansas City again. I think you guys got that just from going off week 1, and just you guys are good. I am very excited about this Buffalo and Jets game for whatever reason. I'm excited about that one. And just looking right now quickly, man, Carolina, Arizona, nah, Denver, Indy, Baltimore, Pittsburgh, Seattle. I like this Chargers and Raiders game. Next Monday, I guess. Yeah.
So Giants Cowboys is a game that I think, and I might eat my words on this one, but I think can go either way. Honestly, I really do. But I really think that this should be a Jackson Dart game. I wholeheartedly believe that. Russell Wilson is not the guy, and I think that the Cowboys defense looked bad enough in key scenarios where I think that the Giants, if they had some competent play, look, the reality is you have to get the ball to Malik Neighbors. And if they can find a way to get the ball to Malik Neighbors, they're going to win this game. I really believe that because the Dallas defense.
You know what's going to be the deciding factor in this game is if Andrew Thomas plays. I promise you, if Andrew Thomas plays and we could actually have a decent line and have protection with the left tackle and left guard, I think if Russ had, and you know what? I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. If this guy has some time to actually make some plays and do something, we will see what happens. I'm not going to say we will win. I think it's possible, yes. I really think it's funny because one of my coworkers is a Dallas fan, and he was telling me, he's like, I think Dallas is going to be last place in the division this year. And you know what? Maybe it's true. Maybe it's not. Yeah, I know. That's coming from a Dallas fan, dude. I think it's tough to say, but I think if Andrew Thomas does play at left tackle, and that's going to be the deciding factor. Can the guy get rid of the ball? You know what I mean? That's really what it is. That's the only thing I saw from the Commanders is they took advantage of. We couldn't get any passes. So yeah, I guess we'll see. Playing in Dallas is really not. I don't know why we always play decent against them. I'm not gonna say we play good, but we play decent. That one game they, shut us out 40-0, whatever. But last year, Thanksgiving game, we were neck and neck with them. I'm excited about that one.
Yeah, and the thing is that I'm not convinced that Dallas really improved. Like that's the biggest takeaway is that I think the Giants improved this offseason. I can say that confidently. I think the Giants improved this offseason. I can't say that about Dallas. I mean, like Pickens, that's great, but you still have Dak Prescott as your quarterback. And who the fuck you're running back by committee on a team that should be a Super Bowl contender, right? Like, there's no reason they shouldn't be a Super Bowl contender. They have just as much talent as any team in the NFL has right now, right? And doesn't inspire confidence. I think that game could go either way. I would not be surprised if the Giants win by more than a touchdown. I would not be surprised.
Dan Jarrett, I appreciate you, man.
Yeah, man, 100%, man. I really wouldn't be surprised, man, because there's nothing that I saw from Dallas in a game where they cut the Eagles' legs off on offense. There's nothing that I saw from them. That's a game that they should have won. That is a win on that record that they lose, and I just think that that's such a big deal to me. Like, I don't understand why that team cannot come together when they need to. The thing is that if the Giants' defense plays like they did last week, and they force the Cowboys into some key drives in the first half, Dallas does not pull through on those. Dallas has not pulled through on those even last year, and I just don't think that the makeup of that team has changed enough to change the identity into something that I can confidently say that they've improved. And so that's why I feel the way I feel about it.
I think the whole fucking country feels that way.
I think that the AFC East matchups, I think the Bills-Jets, look, Bills-Jets I'm very excited for. Because I think that the Jets have a good enough defense to actually make this a game. Look, divisional games. There's something about divisional games, and we both know this, especially in our division. For whatever reason, no matter how good a team is in the NFC East, a divisional game is never a guaranteed win. And The Bills and Jets, I think, is a game that is going to be one that I'm really excited for. It's definitely going to be at the top of my list at the 1:00 slot. But the Patriots and Dolphins is a game. Both teams need to come back out and they need to fire in this game. And I think that they can both show us something. This could potentially be a very good game, actually. And I know that's kind of a weird statement. Like, I see what you're saying, but look, I think both teams left a little bit on the table. I mean, the Dolphins left a lot on the table, but I think both teams could potentially have a comeback game here where they come out firing, man. I really do think that these offenses have the potential to do something, and they both have defenses that are talented enough. Minkah Fitzpatrick with the Dolphins, right? I think that they have potential here to have a good game. And honestly, Jaguars-Bengals, because the Bengals are slow starters and the Jags look good against the Panthers, but they looked good. So you have a team that actually played some competent football. Confidence does matter. And the Bengals don't feel very confident after that Browns game, but the Jaguars feel very confident because they played a good, competent 4 quarters, which is the first time they've done that in a while.
I do like this Chicago and Detroit divisional game. I think I think that could be a good one in Detroit.
Yep.
The Lions play very good at home, so I like that one.
Broncos, Colts.
I don't know, man. Like, I honestly don't. No, that Falcons and Vikings. That one looks like What is that? Sunday night. That could be a good one. I think I agree with you. I think you guys will Chiefs. I don't think that will even come close the way we saw.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even think that's. Oh man, nah. Baltimore, Cleveland.
Baltimore is going to get roughed up in that one, man. I mean, Cleveland's going to get roughed up in that one. I just don't. The thing is that last week you can argue that the Browns did a good job against the Bengals. The problem with the Bengals, it had nothing to do, in my opinion, with the Browns defense. They just didn't execute. I mean, they didn't execute. They just looked bad. So I think that one that I would like to watch, I think Chargers-Raiders, the second hit leg of the Monday. Now, it starts at 10 o'clock, which I think is very dumb because there's a Monday night doubleheader.
Vegas.
Yeah, so it's a Monday night doubleheader there. The Buccaneers-Texans could be a scrappy game. I want to see Baker Mayfield play more. I want to see C.J. Stroud bounce back from a rough week because he hasn't looked that rough in his career yet. So I want to see, let's see the young guy. Let's see the mental fortitude. Let's see, does he bounce back here? I don't think that they do. I think the Buccaneers are just too good right now. The Buccaneers have too much going for them.
Last year was an off year for C.J. Stroud. They call it the sophomore slump. But, man, Nico Collins was hurt. Tank Dell was hurt. Stephon Diggs ended up getting hurt. That was just a roughed up year for the whole offense, man. I'm a big C.J. Stroud guy. I think he's obviously their future. I think he's a solid quarterback. They got DeMarco Ryan on their defense? He got the defensive player of the year. His rookie defensive player of the year. I forgot his name. But anyway, I like what I see on their defense as well.
Yeah. I mean, I like Stroud too. I think Mixon coming back from that injury is going to really change. Which is such a weird thing because we don't even know what's going on with that. Like they only had him on the IL, or the injured reserve. I'm thinking about baseball. Had him on the injured reserve, right? So he's out for 4 weeks, but they're not committing to the fact that he may play at all this year, which is really strange because I don't know that I've ever seen that. Like usually, the only time I've ever seen that was actually again last year with the thing going on with CMC. But I feel like if they were in a position to, honestly, I didn't know if CMC was ever going to play again after last year because you have the Achilles tear on both legs and then the Achilles tendonitis, which means that he's always going to have pain for the rest of his life in his Achilles now, and it's much more likely to tear both of them. So I didn't know he was going to play at all. But the thing is if Mixon's in, that changes this offense because Nick Chubb looked like whatever, like he's kind of done. That injury really, especially for the type of running back that he is really going to slow him down because he's an explosive, 3 yards in a cloud of dust kind of guy. But Mixon, especially as a pass catcher, really changes the dynamic of this offense. So I think until he comes back, if he comes back, we're not really going to see what this offense can become. So that's going to be a game that I think I have the Bucs, and then, Chargers, Raiders, it's an interesting one for me because I think the Raiders have a chance to be a really good team this year. I actually think that they're my fringe team right now where I'm like, I'm not sold because it's 1 week, but they have so much talent. Like, they have so many good players on that team, and Pete Carroll's a good coach. So, that Chargers-Raiders game, I think, actually is going to be, potentially the game of the week.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. It's a Monday night game. It's late, so I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm probably not gonna watch that because I gotta work today.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's gonna be a good one. And then I don't like the Arizona. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stinkers, but I mean, the stinkers sometimes can produce crazy games. Like, you just have wild shit happening, but there's a lot of stinkers, dude. 49ers Saints, like, right? Like, this is some stinkers, man. Like,
yeah, I don't like this Carolina Cardinals. Maybe the Rams and Tennessee. Maybe that'll be a good one.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just watching. Like, honestly, the pick already was worth it for them because they're selling a lot of jerseys. But guess what, man? I want to see Cam Ward play football, man. I want to see him play. Like, it's just what it is.
Exciting.
So, with that being said, I want to close out with one kind of segmented thing that I have. What is your hot take this week? What's your big hot take? Over, it could be about week 1, what already happened. Could be about week 2 coming up. Could be about Super Bowl contenders. Anything. What's your overall hot take week 1?
Man, I'm gonna ride this train. I think Justin Herbert might click. I think he's clicking now. I think this might be the Justin Herbert we all expected the past few years. That 1 year where they fell off and Jacksonville came back like 40 points. What was that, 2 years ago? I think this might be Justin Herbert's year. Honestly, that's one thing I saw from this week where I was like, okay, you know what? Like, this is probably one that shocked me. And then let's go with a good and a bad. That's the good. The bad, oh man, I think I didn't like what I saw from Bo Nix at all. I think out of Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Bo Nix, I think Bo Nix had the second best season last year. I think he did better than Caleb Williams. And I did not like what I saw week 1. I did not at all.
All right. Well, you're pretty generous with your language there. ESPN would not like that, right? We got it, but I think that those are both. I think they are hot takes, right? To say that Justin Herbert's going to have a breakout year, and to say that Bo Nix may not be what we thought. I think that's absolutely a hot take. You know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna use a little bit spicier language because I'm very inflammatory, especially online. I like to get people going, right? I like to get the people going. I think that the Chiefs are going to be a bottom 10 franchise in the NFL this year for the bad. I think they're going to be from 22 to 32. I think that's where they're going to sit this year. I think they're not only not going to win their division, I think they're going to be potentially third in their division, and I think they're going to be a bottom 10 franchise this year. And I think Patrick Mahomes, for the first time in his career, will not only not make it to an AFC Championship game, will not only not have the 1 seed, will not even be a top 5 quarterback in stats this year.
His first losing season?
I'm willing to go there. I think they're good for about. And here's the thing. I'm a stats nerd, always have been. I know a lot of trivia. I know guys dating back to the 40s and 50s, right? Statistically, last year the Chiefs were at very best, historically over the entirety of football, where they ranked all the way down, were a 9-8 team that somehow got 15 wins. This year, they did not improve. In fact, I think they got worse, especially at the offensive line. I could see them winning 7 or 8 games this year. Yep, I think that this could be a Chiefs losing season, absolutely. And Travis Kelce will retire. Andy Reid. Yeah. Andy Reid's going to be in a hot seat position next year. And the only reason why he's not going to be in a hot seat position is because of the amount of success he's had in the past. He can't be, right? That job is his as long as he wants it. But I think that a Chiefs downfall is incoming. My hot take on the positive side. This one is going to be really tough for me because there's a few that I could go. Number one, I think J.J. McCarthy and the Vikings are going to come out of the NFC North and get a playoff berth, which is a hot take. I think the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to start the season 2-0, which is a hot take.
Okay.
But I think that the Indianapolis Colts are going to win 10 games this year.
Oh man. With Daniel Jones behind the center?
Look, man, here's the thing. I don't know what it is. And this is not, and as much as I'd love to throw a dig at the Giants here, but I'm not going to. Because the thing is that sometimes a change of scenery, and I don't know what it is, when a player goes to a new team, even if the team's not even that good, which I think the Colts actually have some talent, sometimes just going to a different team and wearing a different jersey just makes a guy incredible. And we've seen that with Jared Goff. Like, Jared Goff was already in a Super Bowl, was a good quarterback with the Rams, but he's a great quarterback now, right? I think a change of scenery, for whatever reason, in that Colts franchise, I think they're good for 10 this year. I really do. Their schedule is gonna be kind of tough. Their division is bad. Their division is bad, right? And defensively, they very much impressed me, which is a unit that I thought was going to struggle. But they came out, and there was a lot of big plays that were being made, right? There was interceptions. They had what, 4 sacks, something like that. Like, I got to be honest, I think that the Colts are good for 10 this year, and I'll finally finish out because, I mean, there's just so many, right? There's so many storylines here in week 1. I got another 2. The Jets. The Jets are going to have a winning season this year, in my opinion. And I think that the Green Bay Packers will finish out as the number 1 defensive unit in the NFL.
I could agree with that. I do want to touch because you mentioned it. And did you grow up in Philly? Or
yeah, I grew up in Philly. Yeah.
So you grew up in the East Coast, so you know better than I. I think you'll agree with me on this one. People don't believe me, man. Just growing up in the East Coast is different, man. Some people just cannot handle the New York market, and I see it all the time with the Yankees. Probably you guys with the Phillies, and obviously the Philly market and New York market. Probably like the news, the media. Probably the 2 toughest markets, man. And some people just can't handle it, man. They cannot handle the stress and always be in the spotlight. And it's true. They do leave, and some of them, sometimes they have better seasons. Sometimes they have worse seasons, you know what I mean? But I think that is a big factor, is just the New York and the Philly market is definitely a big stress for people to play well, So.
The Northeast United States is the most passionate professional sports culture in the entire world. I mean, it's just, I put that right up there with English soccer, Spanish soccer. I put that up there with Japanese baseball. The Northeast of America, can't really blame a guy for flaming out. I mean, the Yankees, dude, you guys will boo your own players, right? Like, you'll turn your back on them in the stands and shit. Like, that's how it goes. That's how it goes, bro. Look, I'm sorry, man. You're Aaron Judge. You're this great player. You drop that ball in the World Series, brother. You're gonna hear about it. Like, it is what it is. Like, I don't care. But that's the reason why those franchises succeed, is because if you don't succeed, no matter how good you are, you're always on a hot seat. You have to show up and play or you're gone. And that's the thing that the Eagles have done, the Patriots have done, the Giants have done. I don't count the Commanders as being in the Northeast, but you have those teams that are in the hot seat, or you have those players that are in hot seats and those coaches that are in hot seats that they wouldn't be in other markets. Nick Sirianni went to the Super Bowl and was on the hot seat, right? Like, so you have to, what have you done for me lately? What are you going to do? So I think that, by week 4, our conversation will shift quite a bit. And, and there's a lot of cases where I hope I'm wrong. But also Cam Ward, I think Cam Ward's going to throw for 4,000 yards this year.
I don't know who the fuck he's going to throw to if they keep dropping passes like that. I think he will have a great season. I really do think he could take that division if they bring all the pieces together. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But Calvin Ridley needs to catch these balls. I know it was a guy, he went to Miami. Can't think of his name. If they could get that connection going again, I think it's possible. I think Cam Ward can take that division, honestly, and solely based off Cam Ward, honestly. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is that, he could be a Josh Allen type guy where he's got receivers that nobody thinks are any good, but for whatever reason, when they suit up and play with Cam Ward, they just make shit happen, right? So, you never know with the NFL. You never know. It could go one way or the other. And week 4, we could be saying Cam Ward needs to be cut. We don't know, right? But you never. That's just a thing. The NFL, right? It stands for not for long for a reason. It's so hard. It's so competitive. But in a division that's as weak as that division, especially defensively, I don't know, man. Anything can happen. You play the Jaguars twice a year, so he's good for at least 600 yards there. But we'll see. What do you think is going to be the biggest upset this in week 2?
Like game wise?
Yeah. Who do you think is going to make the upset in week 2?
Oh man, I'm gonna go with the Giants just because I love my. But let's see. Let's look at this again. I think. Pull it back up. Dude, I don't know. You think the Bengals are going to lose? I think the Bengals in that one.
I think the Jaguars are going to beat the Bengals 28-24.
Let me put, you know what? Just off this, I'll put Tennessee. I'll put Tennessee over LA.
I like that pick. I like that pick a lot.
I think that could happen.
Yep. So I mean, because you're a couple Calvin Ridley catches away from the Titans being 1-0. So and the Rams did not look very good against a Texans team that has some question marks on them. So
yeah.
Well. All right. And last thing, I guess, after week 1, who do you think is the Super Bowl favorite right now? Just to, who's the team that not winning it, but who's the team that you have that you think is going to get there?
Man. Yeah, all right. So I'm going to go each conference. AFC, I think Bills or Ravens. That's just a given.
If you had to pick one.
I'm going to go with Bills.
Yeah.
I'll go with the Bills. And then NFC, I hate to fucking say it, but the fucking Birds, dude. Yeah, the Birds. There's nothing else that you guys are just going to dominate this conference. Unless the Bucks come. I think the Bucks are going to be the one team
Dark
you guys
horse,
really
yep.
run.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I'm in agreement. The Eagles, honestly, especially with, how rough, the Commanders are looking rough right now in this game too. So I think that they're going to run over the NFC East, be the first repeat in over 20 years in the NFC. There's nothing that just takes away confidence. Jalen Carter not even being in that game and still beating the Cowboys, I got to, they are just automatic. When you got to have it, they're there. AFC, I'm going Bill. I think the Bills are going to win 15 games this year. I think the Bills, look, Josh Allen is hungry. He wants to win. There is nobody in the NFL who wants to win football games more than Josh Allen right now, and there's nobody who has the talent to do it more than Josh Allen right now. So, but through week 1, I'm calling Bills Eagles Super Bowl, and I think that the Bills would win that game by a touchdown, by 10 points. But we'll talk about that.
Wow.
Yeah, because look, they offensively, there's nobody in the world there's no team in the world that's stopping that offense if they look like that every week. And the Eagles. The Eagles scraped by against a Dallas team that I don't think is that good, whereas, the Bills played the Ravens. So, we'll see how it plays out. The schedules are tough this year, but yeah, man, it was good. It was good talking to you about football. So I'll see you next week.
All right, brother. Yeah, man, it was fun for real. All right, take care.
All right.